welcome to the Horror Hangout, a podcast where film fans watch the best and worst horror movies of all time and talk about them. My name is Ben Errington, and today I am joined by regular co-host, Mr.
Andy Conduit Turner. Hello, Ben. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. We were just saying before we started recording, though, it doesn't feel like only a week since Fright Fest Glasgow, does it? It's
No,
flown by.
no, it certainly has flown by. There were definitely a couple of times over the weekend where I thought, what was I doing this time last week? And I was sitting in a cinema full of horror movie fans enjoying one of 12? Is it like 12 horror movies we watched over the course of like 2 days and a
Yeah,
bit? Something like
like
that.
a dozen movies.
Yeah, which is kind of
Oh,
crazy. Told a few people what I got up to on the weekend. Oh, did you see much of Glasgow? No, just saw the inside of one building pretty much. And
of a lovely cinema and some surrounding places, but that's okay. Um,
that's
did you
fine.
have
I'm
to
not
think
complaining.
twice bringing yourself to another cinema to see this week's film? Do you have to steel yourself for it?
Yeah, you know what? I kind of went to the cinema just a few days after I got back, so I didn't leave it, but it felt like a different sort of experience, didn't it? It didn't feel like I think with Fright Fest Glasgow, obviously most of the time you don't know what you're getting yourself in for. Weirdly, I feel like I kind of knew what I was getting myself in for with this film. I was totally right in terms of the way I predicted it. I was kind of mapping it out in my head. Bet this kind of happens. I bet there's like an older character who knows more than the main characters. I bet there's some, and
It's
also,
going to
and
be a
again,
troublesome daughter who's going to be an absolute cow to you loads of times.
troublesome. I don't know. I feel like now Blumhouse have made a lot of good films, and they've made some not so good films. But there's this particular formula of Blumhouse movies that seems to be like the default, and sometimes these films don't fit into this bracket, and they're usually the ones that are okay. The ones that do fit into this bracket tend to be a little bit naff, and that bracket is something's happened in the past. We're going back. We're going back to the place where it all began, but I've kind of forgotten about it. I wonder why I've forgotten about it. Oh, there's a younger character who discovers some stuff and brings it all to the front of my mind, and I remember it all. And then bad things start to happen, and in order to get through these moments, I need to accept these bad things that happen once. And again, generational trauma, all that stuff.
Bit of generational trauma. We'll talk a bit more when we do the plot, but that is one thing. The amnesia of a thing you get when you're a child that's quite a horrific thing. Regular
Yeah.
listeners of the show, and certainly you, Ben, will know that I have a memory from when I was 5, the horrendous Mrs. Radford incident. Look back over the archives if you want to know that one.
Never
And
heard
that
of
was
it.
only being slightly embarrassed by a teacher because I said
Yeah.
what rather than yes, Mrs. Radford on my first day of school.
Yes, Mrs. Radford.
Yeah,
Of
because I didn't
course,
do
Mrs.
that.
Radford.
Get me
Free
all
bags
sorts of
flow,
shit
Mrs.
over it.
Radford.
But you know what? I remember that. I remember that, Ben, like
Yeah.
30 odd years later. I
Mm.
was not chased by horrible shape-shifting bear spider with all the children's imaginations in his world in his eyes. I wasn't chased by
Oh.
that.
See, even that, even
I
you
remember
saying
a
that
much
out
more minor
loud,
thing.
even saying that out loud makes me think, oh, this film could be really interesting and scary and good. But it's a PG-13/12A experience as well, right? Because it was
Yeah,
extremely light on the like actual horror, and that, I don't always mean that I need gore in order for a film to feel actually
I'm
scary.
big on a gateway. I'm big on a gateway horror. I think it's an important thing to bring new horror fans in, just so parents. We live in a more sensitive time, but we don't want parents getting like locked away for showing their kids something too scary, like ours did with us, or let us watch Three
Have
Day
you let
Cooking.
that? Have you let that 5-year-old watch Driller Killer? No, I'll
Didn't
never
let
do
them.
that.
It didn't stop them,
I didn't let
but
him. I didn't stop him, and I didn't tell them otherwise.
it's 1985. Let's say fair parenting is in, but um, in the like so I'm a big fan of gateway horror. Look at things that were sort of certificate achieved similar. Really liked Regan. Thought that was great.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot to be said for the story, and I think I've seen some of the cast and crew talking about this, saying, "Oh, there's probably like a hard R cut of this that we could put out as well. That would
Oh,
be a whole new different experience. I don't think I'd get that much different from the story. What they're going to do, a bit more effing and jeffing. That's
that's
not what
pretty
the
much what
problem
it'd be,
is.
wouldn't it? It'd be the swearies. Other than that, yeah, I mean, I'm not sort of throwing Blumhouse under the bus. I just feel like there have been some films recently. Let's say Night Swim. Let's say Five Nights at Freddy's. Let's say, I mean, Mafregan is an exception to the rule, but I think it's a sort of high concept thing, isn't it? I guess Five Nights at Freddy's is a high concept thing as well. But it falls into these sort of very formulaic tropes, which is difficult.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, there's bits to enjoy about this, and we'll cover them. But
We will cover them, of
yeah,
course. Yeah.
I think also it may have suffered from us seeing this directly after being at a horror film festival, which is really deep genre stuff, isn't stuff that necessarily is going to be a mainstream, huge commercial popcorn movie, and
Yeah.
is a little bit more experimental or a little bit more deep into the horror side of things. I think after watching 12 of those in a row, the next film, unless it is really out there, might seem a little vanilla.
Yeah, a little vanilla. But you did enjoy yourself at Fright Fest, didn't you? And we hope everybody else had a good time listening to our Fright Fest episode. If you haven't listened to our Fright Fest episode, go back just 1 week and find it. It's obviously only the second like live and in person um live coverage event with interviews that we've done. But yeah, some feedback for that would be great. What of the formula do you enjoy the most? What of the formula do you not enjoy the most? Do you like it when we're talking to people the most? Do you like it when we're all just sat on the sofa having a little chill at the end of the event? The
Lovely little
most. Keep
cozy
saying the
bit.
most over and
Obviously,
over again.
I mean, obviously, without any feedback, I know the strongest bit is going to be love it when you have that John Crinnan on. What a nice speaking voice he has. What a lovely man.
Yeah, and we've already discussed getting John Crinnan on for another mainline episode, so let's try and do it in the next month or so. He's
Let's try
always
and get him
welcome,
in.
of course. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. And again, these are the kind of episodes that I really do enjoy listening back to. Just because you can be sort of caught up in the whirlwind of trying to get
Yeah, don't really remember
filmmakers.
what I've said.
Don't remember what I said. Luckily, I listened to it. I thought I didn't really say anything silly, which was good. What's your favorite? What's your favorite thing to get from Greg's? Something like that. Because I mean,
Probably important while you're at Fright Fest. One time for a sit down dinner, Ben, you got to get in and out.
there was not, and there was a Greg's, I think, in with a
Yeah,
stone's throw away. I never.
straight in, corned beef slice, get back in your seat.
Corned beef slice is an underrated choice. Do you
No,
agree?
yeah, absolutely, I agree. I wouldn't say that
Yeah.
for nothing.
Some places don't even bother with a corned beef slice. You walk in, I mean, I haven't even got the label on there. It's not that they've
No.
sold out. It's just it's not even on the menu. Who's deciding this? That's a real life
Big
horror right there.
bakery. Yeah.
Big bakery, big old bakery. Okay, but on top of that, obviously, we will probably, possibly have some post Fright Fest content to deliver. Well, obviously, we did the
Yeah.
Fright Fest awards at the end of the episode, and we included that in our social post recently. But we might have an interview, maybe two, additional with any filmmakers we didn't catch up with. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah. We'll get a couple of those if we can. And then also, if we are able to, because a few of these, I mean, slightly segue into news, but some of the films are going to be out on Shudder and other streaming services
Yeah.
pretty quickly. So
Mm.
we'll be able to see what people's reactions are to those. As a result, whether it's between that or screeners, I would still like to catch the two films we weren't able to see live. And if we do that, maybe we'll add our own little reviews in the what we've been watching sections. But more interviews, more Fright Fest stuff, and then before you know it, Ben, it'll be London. It'll be London in August.
No. London in August, and of course, one big bit of horror news regarding Fright Fest is that it's returning to the Odeon, isn't it? I think that was where it was like at some point, possibly.
Yeah, so
But
from last year's perspective, it's a different venue. Not too far away, though. It's not like it's in Madrid or you got to go far. Just over the square. Over
it's
the
just
square,
over the square.
over across the
Um,
way.
but yeah, it's going to be a 25th anniversary year from August 22nd to the August 26th in London at the Odeon Leicester Square. Odeon Lux Leicester Square. And I don't know if you've seen a photo of this, Andy. Have you seen a photo of the screen?
I've not seen the photo of the screen yet. I've heard it's very big.
Absolutely massive. That's for one. And of course, the IMAX screens were massive as well. I'm talking luxury. I'm talking luxurious luxury. The
Can't
best
wait.
type.
Hopefully, all things being well, we'll see you all there.
It looks like the kind of venue as well that would have like an organ or something like that.
Also, you watch like a silent movie and someone can play like the wah 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 on it.
I'd enjoy that. I'd enjoy that. I would have enjoyed that during Imaginary as well. But nice segue into horror news. Yes, of course, that's one big piece of horror news. The Fright Fest news. So 7 screens over 2 beautiful Ocean cinema venues. So sorry, Odeon cinema venues.
Ocean cinema venues, my God.
Leicester Square and Odeon Lux Leicester Square. So it's like a standard Odeon and an Odeon Lux. So I guess like the main screen stuff will be in Odeon Lux. Okay. Amazing. Huge piece of news. But other news we've got is so a couple of weeks ago during the Scanners episode, we spoke about the first look that we'd had. Actually, I think it was during Frankenhooker. We spoke about the first look at the Crow remake. Now we've got a trailer. The Bill Skarsgård Bloody Revenge, Eric Draven remake of the 90s movie. Have you seen the trailer, Andy?
I've not seen the trailer yet. I saw some
Oh,
people having a moan about it, but then I've seen other people saying, I think it looks good actually.
absolutely no need to have a moan about it. I think it looks perfectly fine. And The Crow is a film that I like, but it's not a film that I'm like absolutely in love with and go, don't you dare touch this film ever. I'm happy to see another version. I know we have had like there was a sequel, right? There was obviously
Several, at least a
several, yeah.
couple.
Um the only thing I'll say about this film is that Bill Skarsgård in this film looks absolutely ripped to within an inch of his life. He looks massive. Do you know when you see some actors, sometimes you think, I didn't even know they had the capability to get that big. Because
To be
Bill
this
Skarsgård's
muscular.
very tall and thin, usually and stuff. I mean, even someone I saw him in recently, like John Wick 4, or one of the John Wicks, he's very tall and thin. And even then I'm thinking that's perfectly serviceable as a crow, as a crowman. I'm happy to see a tall,
Yeah.
skinny man. He's still gonna be powerful. He's otherworldly. He's got supernatural powers, but he has gone. This is utterly ridiculous. Like at one point, there's like a sort of a shot of him, and I'm like, he's as wide as he is tall. I want to know what his secret is. Hopefully, it's not steroids.
Human
But
growth
still,
hormones. That's
it's
maybe not.
human growth
Allegedly.
hormones. It looks very stylish. It's got Danny Houston in it from 30 Days of Night doing his villain chops. Is it FKA Twigs, the woman who's starring along opposite Skarsgård? To be fair, it's one of those trailers where I would say if you're not desperate to watch the trailer, don't, because it is definitely the whole film.
Yeah.
There's even bits in it where I'm like, that is a great moment. Why is it in the trailer? Like that would be a moment in the film where you go, whoa. But then you go, I've seen it in the trailer, and the trailer will no doubt be shown loads more.
You
So
just want the lightest touch with these trailers, right? You don't want to have anything spoiled for you.
no, you definitely don't. But do you think you'll go see it?
Yeah, I'll get and see The Crow. Liked the first one. I don't think I've seen any of the sequels. I like the original Crow. I like the idea of the sequels. I like BBC Scotland's outdoor adventure kids game Raven, which I imagine is a spin-off to The Crow.
Yeah, I do like that. There's a lot of terror and worry in Raven. I usually get stressed while watching it.
Going
In a
through that
way,
assault course, you get knocked off onto the grass, and
Mm.
canonically in the story, that's you dead.
The sequels are The Crow, City of Angels, The Crow, Salvation, The Crow, Wicked Prayer. You can't kick off about there being a remake when we've already got some sequels that, as far as I'm aware, are not good. One of them's got what's his face in it as well, isn't it, from Terminator 2? Edward
Robert
Furlong.
Patrick, Edward Furlong.
Edward Furlong as the Crow. So the Crow, Wicked Prayer is Edward Furlong. The Crow Salvation is Eric Mabius. Kind of a bit like Morbius, that name.
But not so. But you're not quite sure it's him or not.
Oh, Eric
Mabius?
He's Mabius. Eric Mabius is the guy who eventually became Nemesis in the Resident Evil movie. So in the original Resident Evil movie, the one who got like
Oh, the guy who looks like
scratched.
Max Payne.
Yeah, I guess he does.
He does look very much like Max Payne.
And The Crow, City of Angels, it's Vincent Perez as Eric Draven slash, and I don't recognize him either. So here's the thing: if there's been all these movies, and I'm guessing 2, 3, and 4 all were considered naff because no one talks about them as being, oh, that film's great, great classics. I pretty much barely even knew they existed. So let's just give it a chance, isn't it? Let's give it a chance.
Yeah.
It's directed by Rupert Sanders, who directed Snow White and the Huntsman, The Ghost in the Shell, live action remake, reimagining remake, I guess. And now this. So it's
It can be
not
good.
like,
I'm gonna give it a go. Good people in it.
yeah, I mean, I'm definitely going to give it a go as well. And the trailer is very stylish. It kind of made me feel like, oh, yeah, this is going to be cool. I just feel like it showed too much. And I kind of wanted to. But as you may know, I'm pretty good at forgetting it. So I'll just forget I saw any of it. And then
You just
get to
blur,
get on my
blur
life.
it all away.
Blur it all away.
You know what else is coming out there, Ben? Sorry, you think you're at peak excitement for The Crow. I've seen some news just today. I text you and warned you we're going to have to talk about this.
Oh,
Before
dear.
even the sequel is out, the good folks at, public domain classic fairy story, but scary now, have done their
ITN
own
Studios,
Avengers.
ITN Studios, and Jagged Edge Productions are
They're,
all
they're
in.
knocking out an Avengers, aren't they? But in a
Yeah.
very, the letter, if you notice, is very Avengers A-ish as well. They're doing a Pooniverse. That's right. I didn't stutter.
That can't be the real name.
Pooniverse Monsters Assemble. It is.
That can't be the real name. I've heard it called Twisted Childhood Universe as well. But
It's called the
Pooniverse.
Pooniverse.
Is this the team up that did anyone ask for this? You know what I mean? This is, and I know we're not comparing these films. You know when Universal's Dark Universe, whatever it's called, the dark, where they were like, we're having an Invisible Man, a Wolf
The Dark
Man.
Universe, the game is on, where Dracula Unleashed is like, oh, the game is on. And then before you know it, Tom Cruise, snoggy to death, he's the mummy now.
Oh yeah, don't announce your big team up Avengers moment, your Avengers Endgame Infinity War moment. Don't announce it before any of the films have been established individually. That feels
Is it
like
going to be? Are they following the DC route though, whereby in coming up now, Winnie the Pooh 2, Blood and More Honey.
Blood and Honey. Yeah, blood. They haven't. I'm surprised they didn't change the tagline because they could have just called it Winnie the Pooh something else, but they've called it Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey 2. Interesting.
Yeah. So Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey 2, is it going to be a bit like in Batman v Superman, where at some point Pooh and Piglet will just go, got a laptop here and there's 3 video files on it. They'll double click on one and there'll be 100%. One of Bambi rampaging about the forest. There'll be one of Pinocchio putting his face right against someone and then going,
I hate macaroni and
lie.
cheese.
Yeah,
I hate macaroni and cheese. He actually loves it.
I mean,
Bang!
Poke your eye out. Yeah. Who else is in there?
out.
Tinkerbell is in there. Peter Pan is on there.
Peter Pan, Sleeping Beauty, the Mad Hatter, and then obviously all of the Winnie the Pooh and Winnie the Pooh adjacent characters, including Piglet, Tigger, Rabbit.
Is Tigger in there yet? Because I think
some sort of tiger. Like
Tigger's absence was suspicious. I didn't know if Tigger was a later invention and therefore wasn't.
Tigger's going to turn up
yet.
in a on your left type of scenario, isn't he?
Yeah, the little portal's going to open. He's going to come bouncing out of there.
But who's going up against all these creatures? You know what I mean? It's the ultimate mashup team up. Who's going up against them? Just average Joes? No, they'll get
just
mutilated.
Some kids at college lost in the forest.
I'll tell you what, Andy. I'm sure I'll watch Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2. I'm sure I will.
Second one does look bad.
I know it, and I've seen a lot of things. A lot of people. Sorry, I'm just looking at the word Pooniverse again. Like someone's
written up. It's written down, isn't it?
Someone's written that down and gone. Yes. No notes. Pooniverse. Monsters Assemble. But there's another poster which has got like, you know, when Disney kind of release their like schedule posters and we see like the months and stuff. Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare. Pinocchio Unstrung. Oh, you never guess what Pinocchio's done. He's gone a bit unstrung. Everybody run.
famously, Pinocchio is a puppet without strings anyway, so he was always
There's even a
unstrung.
there's even a song. Oh wait, no,
Yeah,
is
he
that
sings a
Pinocchio?
song about it. Yeah,
I've got no strings though.
yeah.
Yeah, hang on a minute. That makes no sense. Pinocchio unstrung, famously unstrung, and now you're saying here they're going to do some sort of origin story where he is strung, aren't they? And they're going to go now he's understrung.
Hmm.
And Bambi, the Reckoning. Uh, I mean, no one ever asked for this, did they?
Are all of
This
these before Pooniverse Monsters Assemble, or are they some of them coming afterwards?
I hope to God that they're before, because don't
Otherwise, you'd be confused, don't you?
you'll be well confused. Don't blow your beans too soon. If we see Pinocchio unstrung teaming up with everybody else, and then we see him, or do you want to see him in a film on his own? No, I don't really.
Now,
Boring.
what would be better for you? Would it be better for you if they were sort of in a cabin in the woods, everyone for themselves fighting situation? You know, they're not necessarily allied up. Or do you want to see the monsters assemble, being some sort of team, forming like a Megazord towards the end?
Against another like big bad against like that. What could it be? What could it
I guess
against Mickey? It's got
they're
to be against Mickey in
they're
it, surely.
yeah. Mickey's like Thanos, isn't he? Like only Steamboat Willie Mickey. No, don't get sued anybody for goodness sake. So just black
Yeah.
and white Mickey.
But like, let's make him gigantic. Like, what's his place? Galactus.
Yeah,
Let's make
big
him
Galactus Mickey and a clicking his fingers and making people disappear, and they have to team up to fight him.
this. I mean, no one asked for this. I'm sure I'm gonna see some of it. Maybe not all of it, but some of it. This feels like it's horror movies made for edgelords. This is like, oh yeah, you like horror movies, do you? Well, have you seen Bambi the Reckoning? Yeah, because Bambi's a cartoon. Give me a
Yeah,
break.
I'm with what they're doing with Blood and Honey 2. I'm interested to see. It could be fun. I think for this to be successful, you have to lean into it being quite funny and silly. I think it suffers if you go,
Yeah.
uh, take this seriously for a minute. Would you? I don't want Bambi the Reckoning to be about generational trauma. Not again. Like
Please no.
I'm gonna need a little bit of. I think this has the potential to
What could
be
it be about?
absolutely fabulous horror comedy stuff. It could be
It's
really
just
funny.
gonna it's just gonna be Bambi going on a revenge killing spree, and that's literally gonna be it. We're gonna see Bambi um trampling people to death. I don't know. I don't know. There's gonna be a lot of mad shit
Giving them
going
some
on.
buddy antlers, making those scary deer noises that they
I
make.
was thinking giving it some antlers, but Bambi didn't have antlers. Well, I guess
That's his baby. He
grown
grows
up.
them.
That's true. That's true. It's been a long time since I've seen Bambi, Andy. Okay, let's move on to some other news. Another couple of bits. Tourist Trap is being remade. It's in the works with producer Barbara Crampton. Tourist Trap was a movie that I actually watched not that long ago. 45 years after the release of cult classic Tourist Trap, Barbara Crampton will be producing an upcoming remake of the 1979 horror movie. If you don't know what the film's about, a group of young friends stranded on a secluded roadside museum are stalked by a masked assailant who uses his telekinetic powers to control the attraction's mannequins. I feel like the telekinetic powers bit is something of a spoiler. Sorry about that. But yeah, have you seen this,
I
Andy?
have seen this. Is right. Oh, not in the distant future. Maybe about a year or so ago. I watched Tourist Trap.
You saw
It's
it in the
interesting.
future.
It
You saw
shows.
it. You saw it in the future, and now you're remembering it. Are you some kind of
Is that the
time
future?
traveling? You said in a
Oh,
distant future.
oh, God, I must be going mad, Ben. It's been a long
You
week.
must be going
So,
absolutely
it's only
mad.
Monday. No, I've seen it in the not distant past, and I've seen it about a year ago. Um, and it's good. Like it shows its age a little
Mm,
tiny bit, but it's got some interesting things about it. I like the thing, and actually, you've got me on board when you said a remake produced by Barbara Crampton.
mm.
She knows the game.
She knows the
Let's get
game,
her
and
in.
I suppose it's kind of cool that it was not a film that she was in originally as well.
Yeah,
Um, wasn't she?
I don't think she was in that one, was she? Tourist Trap.
Now I'm thinking there's
He
definitely
says
been plenty of films.
racing for his letterbox account.
uh, but yeah, definitely up for a remake of this. I feel like, yeah, it was definitely a film that kind of showed its age a little bit. Would have been nice to have that sort of like modern day sheen on it. No, I don't think Barbara Crampton's in the original. I was just thinking because she always seems to pop up in films where you least expect her. 1979, too early, I think, for Barbara Crampton. Wasn't some of her earlier stuff like Chopping Mall, stuff like that?
Yeah, she's in
Um,
Shopping Mall for sure.
Yeah, that's where I got confused. And the last bit of news I've got, apart from that, is Neve Campbell signed on for Scream 7. Put enough zeros on the end of that check, and they all
How
come
many trucks of
running
money do you
back.
reckon it took? Because after they really fucked her off with Scream 6, right, and offering her not enough money.
I reckon just yeah, they must have really because they've shot themselves in the foot by pretty much like alienating their whole cast. Kevin Williamson will direct the film. He wrote the original Scream. You know what? I don't know how I feel. I'm a bit exhausted by the whole situation. I feel like if I'm supporting Scream 7, am I also supporting this studio and these filmmakers kind of like just going, wow, we'll just bin off our stars willy-nilly and then bring them back when we want. It doesn't feel like anyone's being treated fairly. Um, at the same time, it's a franchise that I love, so it's a really difficult situation to be in. We'll see what the hype is like, what the trailer's like, and everything like that. And I think my thoughts might change when we come back to it. But it's a damn shame that it ever came to this, that Neve Campbell was ever dropped in the first place, and now she's come back. And it's even more of a shame that the stars of 5 and 6 have been binned off in such a way. Although,
Yeah, it
have
is a strange one. But I mean, here we are doing a horror podcast. It's almost inevitable that we'll have to see it to cover it.
yeah,
But
and
the yeah,
Rupa has already slid into the DMs and said, "Scream 7, I'll be back for this one." And I've said, you know what? That's how it works. You slide into my DMs and you make a demand, and I yeah follow up with it.
immediately crumble.
But
It's like
but
really 3 trucks of money, Nev Campbell style.
3 trucks of money. So I actually got a chance to see the trailer for Abigail for the first time. The vampire
Little
uh
vampire little girl.
little vampire ballet dancer. So it's helmed by Matt Bettinelli, Olpin, and Tyler Gillett, also known as Radio Silence, who directed Scream 2022, Scream 6, and Ready or Not. So off the back of now Scream 7 being made.
Mhm.
Have you seen the trailer for this?
Yes.
Oh my. I kind of wrote it off. I went, okay, vampire ballet dancer. I might see that when it comes out. I had no idea everybody who's in it, like Dan Stevens, Melissa Barrera, Kevin Durand, what's her name from not Freaky, yeah, Freaky, Giancarlo Esposito. It's like got a bloody
Looks good, doesn't
mega
it?
cast, and the plot looks amazing. Like these people are locked into this building, got to protect a little girl, 50 million if you watch her overnight in an isolated mansion. Then everything locks down, and they realize we're locked in here with a vampire ballerina girl. Hell yeah.
Can you imagine if just for the lockdown you'd ordered a lovely Domino's, got yourself that garlic and herb dip, you'd be laughing.
You'd be absolutely laughing.
Dab a
I ain't coming anywhere
dab a
near
bit
you.
of that on the old pause.
I'll do that anyway, mate. I'll do that anyway. Lovely
Oh,
stuff. But what I'm saying is, for anyone who's annoyed, disenfranchised by the Scream 5 and 6 situation, with how they've moved forward with 7, despite the fact that I don't think those films were absolutely great, but I did like Ready or Not. I think go and support this film, because it looks
this
great.
looks
It's
great.
a
What's the
great.
release date on that one? It's not too far out, is it?
I think it might be April, mid-April. So yeah,
Yeah.
maybe that's an April film we can do. Although we've got First Omen coming up as well. We've already been discussing what films to do. Um, but yeah, because I was in the cinema and the trailer played. Obviously, I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to watch this trailer now. Before I wasn't 100% sold on it,
Yeah, it was there.
and
Do you want to click this? But you're like, it's boring. I don't want to watch it. But now
it's
it's at the cinema.
boring. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, looking forward to that. That's all I've got for horror news. Unless you got anything else,
No,
Mister
nothing else.
Graduate
Those are
Turner.
all the big hitters for this week.
Okay, so let's move on to what we've been watching for this week. Of course, we've all off the back of watching 12 movies at Fright Fest, which we covered extensively in our last episode. Were you all filmed out? Did you watch any more films, or did you just sit in a room and enjoy the nice quiet?
Well, I've watched one film and had a little go on a game, which I'll share with you both now.
I've had a little
Uh,
go on a game. It was very
I've
nice.
started. I'll do the game first, shall I? Because I've not got very far yet, and I'll report back as I get further. I've started a game that was kickstarted a while back. I backed it a while ago. It's been sitting there in my to play pile, not getting any action. But I think friend of the show, previous guest Dan Butcher had messaged about it and said, "Have you lads played this yet?" And that reminded me that he got that. Let's have a go. Alyssa is very, very like an
Oh
old
yeah,
school
yeah,
Resident Evil
yeah.
tank controls game, and she's like a police investigator. I was chasing a fugitive. I've only done the little prologue so far. Chasing a fugitive through the forest, very, very Resident Evil style. Going through some houses. It's all just quite eerie but quite calm. Meeting a couple of characters, and then just chasing a man into a forest, and then unbeknownst to me, a load of horrible sort of baby-faced spider ghoulies came out of the ground,
Ah,
and there was an unwinnable situation for me, and then Alyssa, got slurped off into the ground, and the game has begun proper, and that is where I've left
ah.
it for now, and
Is it one of
gonna
those
get into it.
games where it's like you have to die in this moment in order to
I know
progress?
you didn't have to die. I did waste a lot of bullets for them to just catch me and slurp me off underground. I was like,
Yeah,
okay, I wasn't meant
because
to be able to win this thing.
that happened in the original Silent Hill, didn't it? You had to pretty much get got and pass out. Um, and it happens. Yeah, it happens in a lot of games where like you're like, oh god, there's a massive boss straight away. Am I supposed to beat
It's
this
like
right now?
RPGs is particularly right, and then Bloodborne in more recent eras. Like you're meant to
Bloodborne,
lose this bit.
Demon Souls, I guess like yeah, they just do that and then you go, oh, I got absolutely obliterated. Some people are going to get obliterated and before it even has a chance to load up, they're going to go, this ain't for me.
Ugh, this stuff for me
Off.
too hard,
When they don't
too hard.
realize
Yeah,
that they wake up somewhere and they go, you died. Don't worry. You're supposed to happen that
this
way.
is the
Now
story.
here's
Yeah, I've just started it, but I am looking forward to getting into it more because apart from a little bit of concern that I am shit at using tank controls now, um, if you've
Ooh,
been playing the Tomb Raider remake, it might be just for you.
I've been playing the Tomb Raider remake and I've been
You might be well tuned into it.
playing exclusively with tank controls because that is the only way it works for me. But yeah, tank controls are a bit weird. But I suppose is it like fixed camera angles and stuff?
Yeah, fixed
Okay,
cameras, like
that's good.
exactly,
So
Resident Evil One style.
where can I play this?
You can play it everywhere where games are played. You can get it on Steam. You can get it on your Xbox if you have one. You get it on your PlayStation. Not sure about the Switch, but it's not particularly high res, so I imagine you probably could get it on the Switch as well.
Nice.
Yeah,
I'll have to go and check this out. Then. So Alyssa, it's called. Is that right? Alyssa.
yeah, Alyssa.
Yeah. Interesting. I will check it out if I can. And what about the film you've seen?
I watched 1981's Wes Craven horror film, Deadly Blessing.
Oh, okay.
And it's got some big horror hitters in it. Michael Berryman is in there as for a brief period. You may know Michael Berryman more as Big Scary Boat from Original Hills of Ice and lots of other
Oh yeah,
horror
of
vehicles.
course.
He's in that for a little bit. Sharon Stone is in it. Um,
Oh,
as a
interesting.
as a more of one of the more minor parts as well, but it is set in like a farming community. A guy is back there with his wife. They are shunned because he left quite a extreme like spring of Christianity. They think that people are the what do they call them? The children of the incubus, and
Ah,
they don't like him at all. And then what's going to add to tension, Ben, when you're already not getting on with your neighbours because they think you're a wrong'un? That's right, load of horrible murders, people getting
oh.
stabbed
We're
up by
gonna
a
say like
mysterious masked stranger.
we're gonna say like a tree had grown and was hanging over their garden fence.
Yeah, not that.
People
Worse,
people get up in
stabbings.
arms about that. Slightly worse.
So yeah, there's murders that happen on both sides of it. There's a lot about like sort of like a religious intolerance about it. You know, the people being seen as sinners and what have you. Probably
Yeah.
made worse in the eyes of the extremely religious sort of not quite Amish, but like similar sort of vibe, like a closed community. And then
Mm,
when a woman inherits one of the farms, and then loads of her mates come from LA to help her run it, um, there's all
yeah.
kinds of things going on. Um, it feels like there's some proto Freddy Krueger stuff in here as well. There's a bath scene in
Oh,
particular. It's
okay.
like, okay, there's some shared DNA with this one. Not Wes Craven's most famous film, but it's got some
No,
interesting bits to it.
don't know much about it. No.
A little bit less supernatural, apart from one bit
Awesome.
that's very supernatural. We won't spoil that here. That's it. How about you? Have you watched or played anything?
So I've watched a couple of things that I will mention. So I have seen Frogman. So Frogman was getting a bit of hype all on the
The
interwebs.
Frogman.
The Frogman, a nice found footage cryptid, camera shy cryptid found footage flick. And you know what? I had a lot of fun with Frogman. Um, it kind of feels like it might be at home in an anthology. Like it could have easily been a section in one of the VHS movies, for example. And there is even some similarity with the Ratma segment from VHS, whichever one it was, one of the 80s
VHS,
ones,
that
wasn't it?
one.
VHS, that one. Definitely some similarities in that. I think if you enjoy found footage in general, it's definitely like a throwback found footage film. It doesn't feel like one of these modern found footage where they go, "Oh, we got a bloody drone. Oh, look at this. We got everything in beautiful HD." It's very analog, and I think for that it is pretty interesting. So
With the
yeah,
man from Custom like it.
yeah, definitely. The man from Custom would be all over it. He'd be like, "This is some beautiful, stinky VHS tapes. Why does it smell like that?" Oh, don't ask, don't tell. So yeah, go and check that out if you can. I also saw Lisa Frankenstein, which while it isn't necessarily a horror film, it's got some horror themes in it. It's very sweet, very silly, as most films in the sort of like undead boyfriend subgenre tend to be. You know, it's got some Edward Scissorhands vibes and stuff like that. It goes in some really interesting directions. I was well on the way for thinking it was really, really good, but I just feel like in the third act, it felt like it set itself up for like a lot of good stuff, and then it kind of just like fizzled out. Felt like
Okay.
a very uneven experience. Like I was kind of thinking, oh yeah, I bet this is going to happen, and oh my god, what if this happens? And none of it really did. It kind of just kind of just went, and then the end. So
Okay.
I was a
I still
bit,
fancy seeing that though. It's meant to be quite good. I've sort of
yeah. So I
like
mean,
you said,
it's
it's got lots of sweet things about it.
directed by Zelda Williams, Robin Williams' daughter, written by Diablo Cody. So if you're familiar with the work of Diablo Cody, you know what to expect. Um, yeah, I liked it. And Catherine Newton, who plays Lisa Swallows, yes, that's her name, who obviously we've seen in Freaky, Detective Pikachu, Anne and the Wasp, Quantumania, and
Say no more. Bangers.
the soon to be released Abigail. Uh, she's amazing. I think she's good in everything she's in. So let's see her in more. And that's what we're going to. So yeah, Lisa Frankenstein. And the final thing that I watched last night, a movie called Let's Scare Jessica to Death. This is one that's been on the watch list for a little while. It's a horror movie from 1971. It's directed by John D. Hancock, and it's kind of like a weird ghost story slash, I don't know. I was getting some vibes. Even though it's nowhere, it hasn't got the nastiness of something like I Spit on Your Grave or Last House on the Left. Imagine a film like that, but rather than horrible acts of violence, it's just a bit spooky, if that
They're
makes
trying to give you a
sense.
little bit of a scare,
A
like a
little bit of a
Goosebumps
scare
episode.
rather than, yeah, and it's definitely had those sort of vibes. I'm not even entirely sure like what happened. It's definitely one of those films where I'm like, I probably need to read a bit more about this to work out what was actually supposed to happen. But it's a good film. It's a good sort of like folky horror, psychological horror, with some great performances. And I don't want to ruin anything, but this might get people to watch it more. Could it be a vampire film? It could be a vampire film, you know?
Oh, okay.
If it's one of those films where you're like, oh, a vampire film, but not really a vampire film, yeah. A slow burn, kind of like gothic horror, but with like some Americana sort of vibes in it. That's why it reminded me of things like I Spit on Your Grave and Last House on the Left.
Okay.
Um, yeah,
Accelerate that on up the watch list.
get it on the old watch list. Why not? Awesome. So that was it for me. Was there anything else that you've seen?
No, that's it. Apart from, of course, film of the week.
Apart from, of course, the film of the week, a brand new release, Blumhouse, firing them out. We did Night Swim already this year. We're not on the payroll of Blumhouse covering these films back to back. Because if we were, we'd probably have a lot of nice things to say about them. But Imaginary is a 2024 American supernatural horror film directed and produced by Jeff Wadlow. It's written by Wadlow. That's his name. That's his surname, not just a man with one name. It's just listed here as Wadlow. Co-produced by Jason Blumhouse. No, Jason Blum from his Blumhouse production. I'm struggling with this. Sorry, it's not written very well, this intro. The film stars DeWanda Wise. Did you recognize her? She's in the most recent Jurassic Park. Tom Payne. Do you recognize him? He's in The Walking Dead. Taegen Burns, Pyper Braun, Matthew Sato, and Betty Buckley. And in terms of the plot, a woman returns to her childhood home to discover that the imaginary friend she left behind is very real and unhappy that she abandoned him. Fuming, in fact, raging.
Gives it a side eye as a little frowny bear.
If you ever see a teddy bear go from looking quite nice and whimsical to suddenly looking angry, you know you've done something wrong.
Or you're in Paddington, he's giving you one of his classic Paddington hard stares.
Yeah, that's good though, but he's a living being, you know. That's fine if that happens. If a inanimate object stares at you and is angry, you gotta be scared. IMDb 4.8 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes 26% audience score, 53% critic score. Letterboxd 2.1 out of 5, and some choice reviews. Chris Parker says, solid ideas and concepts executed in the most generic, unimaginative way possible. Chauncey. That's a weird word for me. I struggle with that word.
Kept calling him Chansey, like the egg Pokemon.
You want to take some chances with me? You're chancing yourself. You're a chancy geezer. Chauncey's monster design is dope, though. 2 stars. Benji Got Fried says, coming off of Five Nights at Freddy's and Night Swim, Blumhouse make the losing streak 3-0 with this.
Oof.
2 stars. And Daniel says, my God, I could not stand that old lady from the first time she showed up. 2 stars.
Exposition, Grandma.
Granny Exposition. Granny Exposition. I'll give it a rest. Granny Exposition. Do my nutting. And Lee McCoy says, the third act of Imaginary feels like the big idea of the movie, but getting to it must have been the struggle. 3 stars. Okay, so that's kind of like middling, isn't it? We've obviously already mentioned it briefly at the top of the show. This is a film that I don't think I was particularly excited for. I kind of, when you hear horror and Blumhouse, like there's still that part of you that goes, okay, it could be great, you know? It could be bad, but it could be great. So I'm gonna put all my cards on the table, gonna put all my eggs in one basket, and go and check it out and see what happens. But unfortunately, this was just another very generic run of the mill, hitting the certain beats of a story that you expect it to. Yes, there are a couple of bits of creature design, something bear-like, something spider-like. That's quite effective, quite scary. Probably would have scared me as a kid. But apart from that, there was a hell of a lot of something is happening on screen, and there's a character constantly telling you what is happening so that you don't get confused in your little silly brain. Okay?
Yeah, like it's an audio drama. Yeah, that does happen a fair bit. And then I don't want to skip to the end too much, but you're right, Ben. I think a lot of things that we've seen, not just from the studio, but general, I think one of the reasons I certainly enjoy a horror movie is that because typically they're not designed to be huge blockbusters. They're not designed to appeal to everyone, and therefore you can take chances. You can do something a little different. Horror movies are full of tropes. We know they're full of tropes. We talk about them and celebrate them all the time. But with this and a couple of other movies we've seen recently, I will call up the likes of Smile, Night Swim, this. There was another one which I have now blanked entirely. I knew it a couple of moments ago. That goes to show what it is. It feels like they're, and I'm not suggesting that this is the solution. I'm not going to suggest that anyone is using algorithms to generate things, but I feel like the beats they hit are almost algorithmically generated of there must be XYZ. There must be something that is quite child friendly, which is all of a sudden warped into something quite weird. There must be a kid that goes all withdrawn and funny all of a sudden. There must be this parallel we can draw with real life trauma and
Mm.
some form of memory or something like that that we can bring into this. And it feels, you know, in some cases like it is half a dozen different ideas that are potentially just stitched together at a certain point to make like like a 90-minute movie. And I think you could have done something a little stranger in a number of points and it would have been the better for it. And I keep going back to the comments I think that someone made in, I think it was after Custom, um the the cast and crew came up and they said like there's a great appeal of a horror film that doesn't hold your hand and doesn't explain everything to you. And
Oh
I think
yeah,
Imaginary could have benefited from that a little bit. Like I don't need to understand what it is.
yeah. But also, like, you don't need to understand what it is, but at the same time, you really, really don't need that hand holding is one thing, but like expressively explaining to you every single waking moment what's happening when it's pretty easy to follow. And if you've seen enough horror movies like this where it's sort of rooted in a child's reality or child's reality coming to life or something supernatural coming to life and sort of controlling a child in some way and in some way it's easy enough to follow. It's easy to just have some more respect for your audience. Like even if it is like a PG-13/12A audience, like this stuff isn't difficult to follow. We do not need granny exposition explaining that there's a there's an imaginary friend that's got bloody. He's angry because you left and now you're back. He's trying to get to you. Like we
You
don't need
could
every
do
twist.
those sentences, right? You could just give them a tiny bit. I think victims, like adult writers, struggle for understanding that how like um literacy competent a lot of media competent a lot of younger viewers actually are, and how
Mm,
much they can follow far more complex things that you give them credit for. Case in point, it's dead popular with kids these days, Ben.
go
Not
on.
vaping, anime. You know what anime is? Quite fucking complicated.
Very complicated. Yeah, complicated characters, complicated everything. Yeah. Um, yeah, that was the only thing that kind of annoyed me about this film
Yeah.
was that it didn't allow you to, and even when there are moments of like, this is essentially a semi large reveal, like in the middle of the film or something like that. I didn't then need to go back and see every single scene that had already happened from this new perspective. Um,
There's also some weird, and it might just be that I'm out of sync that everyone that's younger than me looks younger, but it felt like there was some odd choices in the casting. I felt the dad looked only about 3 or 4 years younger than
oh,
his
the
elder
dad.
daughter.
So the dad, right? Okay, so the dad is Tom
So
Payne,
Max,
Max, Max Payne. Top played by Tom Payne, Max. He's in The Walking Dead. I'm assuming he is English, right? Because in The Walking Dead he's American. But I don't know. Was him being so English kind of weird in this film? I don't know why. It felt like a little bit too much. And even
don't
him
worry, Ben,
like
if it bothered you, he's bloody off in 5 minutes.
and him like going off on tour. He's like, I'm a musician. I'm off on tour, guys. All right. See you later. I don't know. Like I just didn't it
Watch out
was
for my ex-wife, though. She's absolutely a massive meth head. She may turn up at some
oh
point. Only
yeah.
for a minute, there. Don't worry.
Only for a second. She's fine. Um, I don't know. I kind of just felt like I think DeWanda Wise, the lead, Jessica, is perfectly fine. In what she does. There's not a chance to deliver all that much emotion on the screen, even though there is like this subplot about her dad and like obviously her mum and dad and this sort of like family trauma scenario happening. I still don't think she gets much of an opportunity to go to really lean into it. I think she's kind of like just she is the vehicle for us to kind of experience everything through. And with that in mind, she's fine. I feel
And to be
the
fair,
younger.
like maybe I've been too mean. Maybe I've been too mean on the age of the casting. She is 40 years old. She's perfectly old enough to be
Oh, did you mean to Wonder
parenting,
Wise?
but she
Yeah,
just,
yeah, definitely.
yeah, but she does look quite young as well. But the dad
Yeah,
looks incredibly
there
young.
there was a moment where DeWanda Wise's character kind of like introduced herself to like a neighbor, and he immediately like said she was the mum. And I did think at that time, I thought I wouldn't necessarily always make the assumption that this person is the mum, because she is a stepmom, but she is definitely old enough to have children of that age. However, I don't know, like it wasn't expressively obvious. Maybe because is it because we're older now, like 40, that now people who are 40, it's hard to think of them as 40. Does that make
Yeah, it's weird
sense?
because I'm just looking up Tom Payne as well, and he's not massively different age to me, but he's slightly older, in fact, only by a few months. But he
Yeah,
just looked
looks
incredibly
so
young.
very
So
young.
he obviously
He's
has a very good moisturization routine. But
he's pretty good in The Walking Dead as well, but I don't know why. Something about him in this film, I was a bit like, whew,
well,
something's
it's
something's
for
not.
me. It was for me that they wrote him out incredibly quickly. Like if your
Why did they
kids
do
haven't had,
that?
he's like, well, I'm off on tour now. I'm not in this movie for the rest of it.
I kind of get it because it was almost like it was trying to isolate the stepmom with the daughters so that she could go through this big event and finally come close to them and become that parental figure she wanted to be, because the older stepdaughter who's like 15 is doing the cliche thing of like pushing her away, and then she's almost trying too hard with the younger daughter to try and come close. And of course when things get bent to break, then they're like, oh, you're not my real mum, and you'll never be our real mum, and all that crap.
To be honest, actually, they resort to that in the most minor things at the beginning. Like she calls, what's the nickname she calls the little one? Like,
Oh yeah, she calls her like, I don't know, something. Is it based on Alice? I can't remember.
oh, like
Alice.
she has like a rhyming nickname for her, right? So it's
Yeah, and then she
oh
says, "You don't call her that. That's our thing."
yeah,
And I'm
and
like, "Oh,
that's
cheers."
straight away, and it's like, oh, okay.
It
Yeah,
just feels
the
like
old daughter immediately like mean girls their new mom. And there's like,
the relationships aren't very dynamic. They're very obvious. They're very like, okay, so establish this. We've got a stepmom, we've got an older daughter and a younger daughter. Try and develop some sort of relationship between the three of them. It's like the dynamics are just so obvious to go. Older girl hates her,
yeah,
because you never be my real mum. Younger girl, a bit open to it, but then the new stepmom, probably a bit trying a bit too hard with her.
yeah, trying a
We,
bit too hard.
we've kind of seen it. We've seen it
And
a million times,
Max,
and
don't Max is a deep character, but he's got stuff on. All right, he's a nice chap, but he is on tour. It's his job. He's got to go.
I'm on tour. See you later. That's right. What's that? What's that? A imaginary friend embodying
Ghost Bear. All
a
right.
teddy bear. I got things on. I got to play some songs. Shit songs. I'm saying shit songs. I ain't got a clue, have I? Out of order.
What type of music do you reckon Max's band does?
From the look of him, he's kind of doing a sort of John Mayer thing, isn't he? Uh,
You reckon?
he's like singer-songwriter. He probably thinks he's got more charisma than he has. He hides behind a series of hats. I don't know what that would be like. Don't ask
He does have
me.
a hat on when he goes out, doesn't he?
He hides behind a series of hats because he hasn't really got anything going about him. So he's like, look at this hat. This is a substitute for personality. Again, nothing to do with me. I don't know what that could possibly mean. Um, and I don't think we even get enough of Jessica and Max's relationship. We see them in bed in the morning, and like she's having nightmares, and he's like, having nightmares again, are you, you mug?
And I
And
tell you what, move house, why don't you? All right, I will.
I'll tell you what, I got a perfect thing for that is I'm gonna move out. Also, at one point she wakes up and says, I didn't have a bad dream last night, and then they high five. I'm like, no one's high fiving that early in the morning. I definitely ain't.
Yeah, especially when you just poke your wife in the eye.
Poke your
Um,
wife in the bloody eye, exactly.
I mean, you spoke about the nightmare bed, and that's where we open, right? I think again, not saying that this is like algorithmically generated, but it is very deliberately generated to hit certain beats. And I feel like this one, right, do a cold open that's got a scare in it.
Yeah, there's like cold open with a scare in it.
Like big
Quotes.
scares. There's like people running about. There's a big shadowy spider monster in the first thing that does not reoccur until much later in the film, crawling
Yeah,
about the ceilings, chasing people, and we see a man getting smashed up by him.
yeah. A man getting smashed up by him, exactly. And then this is clearly in like some sort of like dream world slash whatever the imaginary world is or should be, isn't it?
Yeah, and then she wakes up. Jessica wakes up with a start in the bed, having had a big nightmare
Yeah.
about a spider, which prompts them to move back into. They were already planning to do this. It isn't just because she had a nightmare one day.
Yeah.
They move in earlier than
Because that
planned.
would be mad, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and the nightmare includes her mentally ill father Ben.
Ah, yeah.
Not you. I'm not saying her mentally ill father, comma Ben.
No.
Her mentally ill father, whose name is also Ben. Um,
Again, even the dad don't seem old enough to be her dad. Because
well,
clearly
these
what
not
they've
only
done
not
in the flashback, they've gone, this is the dad, and I've gone, yeah, all right. But now they've gone, this is the dad in modern day. Just dust a bit of grey on him, and he's good to go.
yeah, and he's committed to permanent hospital bed.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and they take his house as well. They are, we'll live in your house now, Dad.
Yeah, I think that's it. The final disrespect. Uh, you saved
Well,
me from this thing. Thank you. We're having your house because you're not. Yeah, well, he's not well enough to live in it, really, is he? So
he's too poorly, and like we find out a bit later why he's so poorly. But yeah, he has a nondescript film illness, right? He's not in a mental health facility so much that he appears to be permanently in a hospital bed.
yeah, and he's not, and he's rarely like speaking sense. So he's not. It's almost like it kind of seemed like dementia because he didn't recognize Jessica at one point, but I don't think it ever really explains what it is. It's kind of like it does that classic thing again in a movie where it's like he saw something so scary that his mind
He's
just
gone
packed. His mind
bloody
just
mad.
packed up his balls and left. Pretty much that's it, isn't it?
Yeah,
He's
he's seen something that so we find out a bit later what it was that's driven him mad, and
yeah.
you know he's seen
Who can
something that
blame
no
him?
adult mind could ever
Who can blame
comprehend.
him? Yeah.
You know what happens to me, Ben, when I see something I couldn't comprehend.
Go on.
Maybe I'm just built it just washes over me. I don't understand that.
That's because you've seen all these horror movies, hundreds of horror movies for this podcast. People go, he's sick. If you were to go out there and commit a terrible crime, not say you'd ever have the capability of doing that, because I don't think you would, but they blame it on this. They blame it on this podcast.
They'd say,
This podcast would be cancelled, but also become, infamous.
yeah,
Got
cult
more popular than
material, all
ever.
because
Maybe you,
driven
maybe you
mad
should.
by too much stuff.
Maybe you should. Maybe
Oh.
pump the old downloads up.
We'll see how the
Uh,
numbers look, shall we?
So after that cold open, so essentially Jessica grows up. We see like all these home videos of her growing up at this house, and she seems to have a happy childhood filled with love and laughter and all these nice things, filmed on a lovely camera that keeps its battery charged, ready for all these years later for when you turn up to have a little watch of it.
Yeah, it's ready for you to go. Oh, and the nightmare creature in her dream is actually
Yeah.
it's a baddie from a book that Jessica was a
So-
children's author,
Yeah.
and technically speaking, the monster that chased her was named Simon the Spider.
Simon the Spider from her own book. So it's like it's a monster your own making. If you're being scared by your own books, you need to put the pen down. Put the pen down, write something
And
else.
he's a lovely smiley spider. My
Yeah.
goodness, if that's triggering you, don't watch don't watch Martyrs anytime soon.
Yeah, so she's a children's author. It's like called something the Millipede in the books that she writes and
Yeah, like
illustrates.
Millie the Millipede or something like that.
Millie the Millipede. So she is I was gonna say a triple threat, but a double threat. She might be good at something else. So she writes and draws the books and clearly earns a decent chunk of change. Here's a decent bit of cheddar.
Decent
Uh,
enough to keep your father in a permanent hospital and then just take his house.
And just take his house, mate. Yeah, exactly. Because yeah, imagine the bills for that, keeping him in a permanent hospital. Jesus. Um. So yeah, her new life is so after that happened with her dad and her mum died of cancer. Is that right?
Yeah, Jessica's mom is. I don't remember if she said what she died if she's dead though.
Died of cancer. Yeah, something like that. Dead. Sorry, don't want to say it's a matter of fact. Um. And then she meets Max, who's got two daughters from his first marriage, which ended after his wife at the time got some sort of mental episode slash drug related
Yeah,
addiction problem. Is that
maybe
right?
I'm casting shade on a good character. I assumed that she was just a drug addict, but I'm seeing on the synopsis here because again, it's a cinema film, so I couldn't make notes in the cinema. I'm not Barry Norman, but taking my pen and paper in there. So I
Yeah.
looking at this, it says Alison Taylor's mentally disturbed biological mother. So I just thought she was a wrong one. That's very rude of me. I'm so sorry. She's just
Mentally
disturbed as well.
disturbed. Well, you just made that assumption, and I was willing to go with it. But yeah, so obviously that's happened, and then so now the two daughters have essentially had to like move. They've
Out of
moved.
their old
They've
apartment, they've
out
had
of
to
their old
move away.
apartment. Yeah, and this is
Goodness
obviously a
knows the
big.
speed this has moved, but Jessica and Max have got together and are married.
Yeah. So yeah, as we've established, Alice seems closer with Jessica, who's the new stepmom, but Taylor keeps at arm's length. Taylor, who's like a 15-year-old, so she's going through all the standard stuff at the moment, starting to take notice of boys, interested in maybe doing a bit of Molly, except it's not Molly, it's just um
Allergy medicine.
allergy medicine, classic, easy to get mixed up. Um yeah, and so they basically just move straight into the home, and then in Jessica's old bedroom are all these drawings that have like faded a lot over time. Um, and yeah, and what even though everyone seems pretty happy with like moving in and stuff, Alice is sort of discovering things as you do, and she finds in the basement a little teddy bear just quietly behind a box, sat upright, ready to be discovered.
Old Chauncey.
Old Chauncey. Chauncey, right?
Yeah,
Weird
Chansey's a
word.
Pokemon. Chauncey's a bad bear.
God damn it. Um, Chauncey, and she quickly forms a bond with him. A moth-eaten, stinky old rotten bear from hidden in a basement for decades.
I've just realised they're going through these modern horror films, going through the ABCs of little diminutive killer monsters. A is for Annabelle. B, Brahms the boy.
Brahms the boy bear.
C, Brahms the boy is not a bear, he's just a boy. A scabby
Chauncey.
little dolly. And then
Chauncey.
Chauncey, C.
Chucky. D.
Yeah,
The 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 Dabadook. No,
it's
that's wrong.
not ready yet. We'll have to find out what Blumhouse will put out next.
D's coming up next, yeah.
Will it be a little D? But right now we're at Chauncey. Um, and she basically, within the space of about 2 minutes, is straight into it. So Jessica's been distracted for a second. I forget. Oh, is this when she gets distracted? Because basically, Taylor is outside flirting with the neighbor boy, and Jessica comes out and she goes, "Yeah, she's 15, by the way. Want to go to fucking pedo jail, mate?" And he goes, "Oh, actually, no.
Pedo
Better
jail.
I better go
Not
back
laughing
inside,
matter.
eh?"
I better go
And then
inside, yeah.
yeah, and then Taylor is like, "Oh, for fuck's sake, stop spoiling everything." She goes, "Oh, I was just joking." So, well, you weren't though.
Yeah, but that's the thing.
And
It's
then
like Jessica gives her a little bit of stick when she deserves it, but Taylor seems to be quick to like give her a little bit of grief as well. But then when it's reciprocated, she don't like it.
yeah, doesn't like it. She though can Taylor. So that's what's distracted Jessica for it. She was playing hide and seek with Alice, and then
Yeah.
basically when she comes back in, Alice basically mugs her off
She
and
was
goes,
playing hide. She was playing hide and
"Got someone
seek,
else to
but
play with now, thanks."
Jessica mugged her off first. She walked out to take a phone call mid hide and seek without even explaining to anyone that was what she was doing, and that, in my eyes, is a disgrace. I would
That's a
say
party foul.
that's a massive party foul. Yeah, you can't
So
just
yeah,
walk off because it's
that's too fair.
confusing for everyone involved.
Jessica has started it, and then Alice has escalated it by when she comes back in and goes, "Oh, I found someone else to play with now. Actually, this bear called Chauncey."
This little bear called Chauncey. You've had your pants pulled down by a little teddy bear. And yeah, she's clearly developing some level of bond with it and also talking to it like
Within
it's
minutes.
within minutes. What's that, Chauncey? Yeah, talking to it like Han Solo does to Chewbacca. Essentially just like says something that's completely no one would understand that in a million years. And he goes,
Matthew
"What's
Corbett
that?"
and Sooty. He goes, "What's that, Chauncey?"
Oh yeah, that's a better example, yeah, because you can't hear
Oh,
Sooty.
Jessica's mugged me off. Yeah, that was rude, wasn't it? Right, oh.
That was incredibly rude. I feel like Jessica, you deserve it. Maybe just temporarily though. I would let you just be, um, yeah. But
And then before you know it, there's kind of evidence that it's real that evening, because this is when Max is still there. Like, Alice is standing creepily in the corner of their bedroom. She goes, "Oh, shh,
oh
buddy,
yeah,
I'm having a game of hide and seek with my boy Chauncey." He goes, "Oh, hide in here, hide in here, hide in the bed."
with my
But so
boy
she's still,
Chauncey, classic
and
Chauncey.
straight away he's escalated from hide and seek one day to getting Chauncey's scavenger hunt list tomorrow, and it's like he's done some good marketing as Chauncey, because like the scavenger hunt list says like Chauncey's fucking amazing scavenger hunt.
That bit was kind of creepy though. The bit where they were in the bed, and then they were like, "Oh, hang on a minute, I heard a little creak in there. Is Chauncey actually coming?" Although the scare was a bit rubbish because it was like, what was it? It was the little girl's face. The little girl's face inexplicably like lit up like a Christmas tree underneath the underneath the thing. So weird. Um, but yeah, Chauncey, and then what are we supposed to believe in this instance? Are we supposed to believe that Alice moving home out of the breakup of her family originally is using Chauncey as some sort of coping mechanism, and the fact that she's doing the imaginary friend thing isn't really something to be worried about because it's just nice and sweet, you know?
Just nice. And I think they all said like every one of you pause for a bloody second to ask. Like Max is amongst it. So, oh, I had an imaginary friend. Jessica's, oh yeah, yeah, probably. Let's just get on with it. And Chauncey's even helping her, because I think the Alice says, "Oh, maybe Simon the Spider. Maybe
Yeah.
he's actually just real sad." He goes, "Oh, actually, Chauncey's helping us write a book. He's a welcome addition to the family. Everyone's team Chauncey right now. They're all amongst
Yeah.
it."
Team Chauncey is helping with my writer's block. It's an absolutely great time to be in this brand new family, of which the dad, even when the dad hasn't left, he's still like nowhere to be seen. Is he working during the day?
He's unpacking the boxes. He's just out of the way.
Is that what's happening?
Yeah,
He's an absolute.
He's just not really in it.
I felt it's proper feels like one of those films where they've gone, let's get you in for this film, and he's gone, I'm actually double booked. I'm actually supposed to be making another film, and they've gone, come in and do a couple of establishing scenes, and then we'll very, very quickly fuck you off.
Just write you out, but he will be in it at the end. You'll be back.
Exactly,
Um,
yeah.
and that's it. So Chauncey is starting on. Oh, there's a little bit of a video where she sees him having a Jessica sees her having a tea party with Chauncey,
Yep.
and that's when we get a little scare that the
Yeah.
disturbed mom has come back. And again, just out of nowhere, just to establish that there's another mom, just so it's not, oh, your mom's dead. We can, I guess it's just there to build the tension that, oh, the teenager does hate you because she likes her own mom, but her
Yeah.
mom is reeling about and she attacks her in the middle of the house, and the police come.
Yeah, so the scare
Um,
is like she kind of looks in to see who Alice is talking to, but and you just see like a little leg for a second. And again, maybe we're supposed to think, oh, it's not going to be anything in particular, but it is
it's going to
actually
be
the
Buddy
mum.
Chauncey. That we're expecting Ghost Bear already,
How
right?
did the how did the mum know where they lived?
Taylor's been texting and she goes, "Oh,
Oh
sorry,
yeah, that's right.
I have been texting her."
I have told her our actual address and postcode, and I was just saying it in conversation, you know.
And I said that Dad's going to be away actually, so if you're going to come and attack anyone, now would be the time.
Yeah, why don't you just come over and do something normal? No, thank you.
Yeah, I'll come over. Yeah, so that's happened. So the tensions are really high, but Chauncey's all about this scavenger hunt that we mentioned. At first, it's kind of like little things, right? It's like, oh, have you got what does she want at first? Alice comes in and asks for something. Oh, a paintbrush.
Something that makes you happy. Something that's happy. Oh yeah, I'll just draw a little smiley face on this ball. Great.
Yeah.
Absolutely 10 out of 10. Can't argue with that. Can't argue with that. I'd say it's a bit of a workaround. I'd say it's a bit of a cheat, but I'll let you off.
What would you put if you were doing Chauncey's absolutely fucking wicked scavenger hunt? What would be your in the little balsam that makes you happy, Ben?
I wouldn't give them anything that makes me happy because I keep the thing
Well,
that
if you were
makes me
playing
happy
along,
all for myself
if you
because
were
I'm
playing along
selfish.
with Chauncey because you've bought into him being a real bear, it's
I don't
helping with
trust you,
some
Chauncey.
trauma.
I don't trust
You
you,
do
Chauncey.
in this scenario. What are you
Oh,
going to
I
put in?
do.
Yeah.
Um, a lovely, a lovely block of something cheese, a lovely piece of cheese because I'd say cheese always makes you happy, no matter what the
Lovely,
situation is.
little drop of cheese, little square of dairy milk.
A lovely drop of cheese. There's not a drop of cheese on this. Uh, maybe a cheese string. Because I'd say, sometimes if I'm feeling a little bit unsure and sad, a little bit, just something, a little bit of cheese, just set you on the straight and narrow,
Maybe
Chauncey.
a baby
But you know
bell.
that.
They're fun to unlock them as well.
I like a baby bell. Yeah, it's the only,
Yeah,
it's the
so
only food, it's the only food I will eat that's sealed in wax. How about you?
very true. I can't think of any other
Yeah.
wax sealed foods I'd eat. um, ever so hard to bite through. Um, yeah, so you got a baby bell in there, and then no one's allowed to look at this list for reasons that will become evident later. And then at this point, Max has already gone. By the way, don't worry about Max, everyone. He is out of the film until the end now.
Yeah, they've gone. Sorry, Max. We haven't actually got the budget to pay you on a daily basis, so you need to just piss off out of the film for as long as possible. And he's gone. I will, as long as you say I'm going on tour, because I'm a successful musician in a
Musician,
hat. And he'll go, yeah,
John
yeah, we'll do
Legend
it.
type. Off I go.
Yeah, and it looks like you're getting driven away by a chauffeur, but in fact, you're just in an Uber. We all know the truth, all right?
Yeah.
We all know the fucking truth. Sorry for swearing. Don't
Um,
know where that came from. Anger.
he's off anyway, so he's written out the film now, and then of course, as soon as Dad's away, things have to escalate with Jessica and the kids. And the first thing is, Alice is doing a scavenger hunt. Great. Chauncey is starting to get right on Jessica's wick. So she nips on out, and then Taylor thinks, tell you what, that boy, going to invite him round. And he comes over and he's immediately like, tell you what, you get on the bloody booze, will you? Do you want some pills? Like literally
Off your
a
head, mate. You're off your head.
smorgasbord of
It is the
bad behaviors.
middle of the day in suburban America, right? I understand that there aren't any community centers anymore for kids your age, but drugs and booze at 2 p.m.
Get on the
Um,
skate park, Liam.
get yourself down the skate park, do a kick flip, get yourself out and play curbs or Kirby, as some people call it.
Yeah.
You got access to the internet. There's literally a whole world of things to enjoy there. Don't
Watch a
get
film.
involved watch a film, listen to music, play a game, eat some nice food, make a lovely bit of dinner, go for a lovely walk, cycle, a run, a
All
swim.
the all these things you could be doing, Liam, but straight away you're like, right, let's crack open the booze, will it? No, Taylor, her
Don't
bad
worry,
boy credentials are out of the window already. She's like, oh no, I'll get in ever so much trouble if people know. Liam's like, oh, your mum and dad noobs. I'll just
I'll
put
get.
some fairy liquid in there and it'll top it right back up.
My dad's actually a famous rock and roll singer, so he'll know. He'll walk in the house, and the second a drop of rum has been drunked, without him knowing, he'll
He'll
know.
know.
He'll
He'll
know.
absolutely know. Someone's taking my beers away. That's what he'll be saying.
Someone has been in my room and taken my beers away from me. No, they haven't, Max. Who's the beer thief? You are, Max.
that
Gaslighting him. Oh, he actually scratches his head. Oh, did I?
yeah. So that's what's going to happen, and that's what Liam thinks happening. But what he does is, I tell you what, Liam, you're not really impressing these cool boy credentials on your younger neighbor that you've just moved into, because immediately you waz the spirits bottle on the floor, smashing
Oh,
it everywhere.
I'd be absolutely raging if I was in that moment. I'd say, you are an absolute embarrassment. You're an
I mean,
embarrassment to yourself and everyone else.
in many ways, you could have played that up. Actually, you could have had a little drink of the stuff that you did want, and then smash the bottle, and then go, "Oh, we were throwing a tennis ball around in the house and we bust something." So
A tennis ball. We was
yeah.
having a lovely game of tennis ball. just throwing a tennis ball around back and forth.
Well, if you never
Uh,
bought me a swing ball, stepmom, then I could have played swing ball, couldn't I? But I didn't. I should throw a tennis ball in the house.
swing ball. Swing ball's exciting, but dangerous, I would say. It's quite
Yeah, well,
easy.
it
If you
wouldn't
get
have knocked your glasses over though if you're outside the radius of the
That's true.
rope.
That's true.
Quite safe.
But and then what happens?
Well, Liam, fuck's sake, Liam, go and get a cloth, will you?
Go and get it's go. Yes, just go and get a towel. And I'm like that.
Not
Interesting.
a,
Where would
not
you
a
go?
bathroom towel.
What would
Get a
you do?
kitchen, get some
A
kitchen roll,
bathroom?
Liam.
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking a bathroom towel is the wrong thing. You want to get some kitchen roll or a tea
A tea
towel.
towel from the
Tea towel, is that? Do they have that in America? Tea towel? Maybe
American listeners, write in a tea towel's a thing.
our tea towel's a thing. A little miniature towel that lives in the kitchen and helps you with
When you spill
spillages.
stuff up. Yeah.
When you spill stuff up and you need a little, it's not a massive bath towel. It's just absolute madness, isn't it?
Yeah, so he's gone to get that, but then he sees like I guess it's like a Woody from Toy Story like pull string.
Yeah, yeah. So like a Woody from Toy Story pull string, and he does a really weird thing where instead of immediately looking at the source of that pull string, you very slowly, because the film needs tension, follow follow the drawstring as it moves along up until what looks like a teddy bear under a towel, right?
Yeah, it does. Just the towel he needed as well. He goes, oh, bloody hell, all my Christmases have come at once. Speaking
Absolutely
of
ideal.
which, the Chauncey music, did it remind you of anything?
Oh yeah,
His little Chauncey
Chauncey
tune
music. Do you remember
that
how it
plays
went?
later in his music box. For me, it's it's 100% like a couple of notes off and a slightly faster pace, but it is the Home Alone music. Is that ding 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 ding?
Oh shit, really? Oh
Watch
my
it back
god.
when this is on streaming. It is like Home Alone music. So it goes on and he stops it, but then as soon as he's like stood on the drawstring, basically it starts going again, but much faster as the bear runs at
Oh
him and under
yeah.
the blanket does a big scary bear face, does a big jump scare on him.
Yeah. But he just sees it for a second, right? It's
Yeah,
not like he gets got by this. He's kind of just scared, isn't he?
yeah. You get scared by him and he runs out of the bloody frying pan into the fire
Mm.
because like Taylor goes, fuck's sake, Liam, what are you doing? And then your heart sinks. He goes,
Jessica.
no, Taylor, what the fuck are you doing? And she's at the bottom of the stairs and they've been
Ah,
busted. And
absolutely busted.
he goes and gets Liam's mom ready because Andy was giving my stepdaughter Molly. And he
15-year-old
goes,
daughter.
oh,
My stepdaughter's name isn't Molly. They were giving my stepdaughter Molly, the drug. And she's like going, actually, this is my. What? How far did he think he was going to get with that lie? Because if he would have gone, do you fancy some Molly? And she just went, yeah, I do actually. And then they took something and they had no reaction.
I have Molly all the time, actually.
I've built up a tolerance to this Molly, actually. I'm going to need to take 10.
I tell you what, I don't feel like I'm tripping or anything, but my sinuses have never been clearer.
Usually, this
My
time of
eyes
year, the
my eyes
pollen's
aren't
really.
even the slightest bit itchy.
Oh, I'm absolutely loving it. This sounds like we're giving advice. Take 10 allergy tablets if you're feeling allergic to something. That it doesn't work like that. Okay,
Yeah, you
we're
will
being
not be loving each day as if it's the last. You'll just be
dead. No,
probably
maybe not
doing some
dead.
of the damage to yourself.
Maybe not dead, but still not good, is
Yeah,
it?
just it's not effective like that. It's not that there's a cumulative effect of having more antihistamine.
That's true.
Um,
It's a shame.
so
I know.
having dealt with that, the she gets back and Jessica looks back and Simon the Spider's face has been ripped off one of her pictures. And she's
Oh
like,
yeah,
I'm fucked off. But she has to limit that
yeah.
by basically saying, oh, well, Alice is a little bit upset and everything. And she
Mm.
takes a look at and she manages to have a look. She's talking to Alice under the covers, saying, look, I know it's bad. And she brings up, there's a lot of Jessica's stories do begin with, when my mom died. And, I'm not saying
Yeah,
that's not a significant part of her life, but she does tell a lot of stories
yeah.
about it.
When my mum died, yeah,
When mom died, this is a thing that happened. Um, and then she has a quick glance at the scavenger hunt list, and it's something that makes you happy, something that's blue, something, and then PTO, turn over the page, and the other side is where the fucked stuff's on it. And it's like something
yeah.
that bloody makes you sad, something you get a fucking bollocking for doing, and then something that comes right sharp.
Something that comes incredibly sharp. Can you believe it? Yeah, and then obviously she's immediately worried, and it's good that she comes to this realization because at the exact moment this is happening, Alice is getting ready to slam her hand on a horrible rusty nail.
On a nail
Right,
on a bit of wood that's
on a
off there. And
nail.
we briefly see her point of view. It looks like there's a bloody dandelion growing out of the other thing.
Oh,
It's got a little
okay.
flower rather than a nail.
Oh, well, that'll be fine. She'll be absolutely fine. Don't worry about it. Um, yeah, she's getting ready to slam her hand on it, and to be fair, she gets pretty damn close to it. She's counting down, and she's having a bit of a dialogue with Chauncey, where she's saying, "I don't want to do it. It's gonna hurt. I'm terrified. I'm scared. Don't make me do it." But then you're good at. But she's also doing Chauncey's voice right at this point.
Yeah, which is
Yeah,
basically her own voice, right? She goes, "Oh, it won't be all
it's
right."
basically her own voice, but just a little bit evil. You gotta do it, you silly little girl. Ba 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 ba. Like that.
Yeah, yeah. So that's and then she's gonna do it, but Jessica comes just in time and she only scratches her arm rather than absolutely Jesus in herself through the
Yeah.
palm. Um, yeah, she doesn't do like a 1/4 crucifixion. She just gets her hand scratched. We've had a couple of other little exchanges in the interim. We've met for the first time Granny Exposition, who is the neighbor who
Oh
lives
dear.
over the way and used to be
Very
Jessica's
weird.
babysitter way back when, but she doesn't remember. So, oh, do you remember that? No, I literally remember nothing when I was a kid. Don't even ask.
Yeah, it's literally like that. She was supposed to be 5 when she was a kid, but the way they talk about her, don't you remember this when you were 5? Like she should have had a memory of the exact same things that this babysitter remembers, and she is weird. This is Gloria, Gloria. She does a creepy thing where she's like just staring at her in the window initially, and when she goes out, one of the daughters, sorry, when she goes out, she's gone, and then when she does turn up, she's just a bit weird. Like her dialogue's just a bit odd, isn't it? It's a bit off kilter.
Yeah.
It's a bit strange. She's a bit overly familiar, um, and seems to like want to be close to the family for some
Yeah.
reason.
And
I
has
just
no
don't.
kids because Jessica's like, oh, I give some books to your grandkids. Because I know, got no kids.
Got no kids. Actually, I hate kids.
And
I
then
did
she
use.
doesn't like the other two kids as well because Taylor's like, all right, how's it going? And then sort of gives her the side eye. And then Alice
Yeah,
is like, Chauncey doesn't like seem to like. It's like, oh, maybe bloody eat you because thinks you're a wrong un. Is this the bit where Chauncey does a frown?
there's a couple of moments in there. It might be the moment that Chauncey does a frown. Yeah, could be.
And to be clear to this, to anyone listening, it's not that the teddy bear Chauncey we see him move and do a frown. It's just that sometimes when we look at him in static visual, he has a little frowny face, and other times he's just normal.
Every time he's just absolutely normal. Yeah. Um, which is kind of funny. It's not like uh it's not like scary or anything like that, is it? It's kind of just a bit silly. I think it got a couple of laughs in the screen I was in, um, where it was kind of like, oh yeah, oh, the angry bear, yeah, we all get it. What's he gonna do?
Well, I'll tell you what he's going to do because after the nail incident, um, the doctor comes in. Don't worry, does house calls. Comes in to do a little interview, and she has a chat with Alice about Chauncey. And it's important to remember here that they put Chauncey on the side. It's there in a conversation, and then she does a little interview with him
Mm.
and basically says, "Oh, maybe we shouldn't be friends anymore, Chauncey." Chauncey, never
Trouble
this
him.
amount of child gaslighting since Toby, the bloody paranormal activity man talking to kids. And he goes,
Yeah,
"Actually, maybe your stepmom's awful, not me."
yeah,
Um,
maybe that is it. And already he's getting gas. Already he's gaslighting the little girl. Already he's controlling her, making her do things against her will, not just slamming her hand on a nail, but also just other things as well.
being rude to a stepmom, going off into a parallel dimension, the following things. So um, yeah, they have a little row. Alice is very upset and storms out of the room and goes up to her bed. Um, Jessica sends Taylor up to look after her and talks to the doctor, who shows another little video, massively breaching patient confidentiality. He goes, "Yeah,
Yeah,
watch this video of this completely with this kid with this that you've got nothing to do with as a similar thing," and he uses the same phrase, "never ever," except have a close look. He's had his bloody thumb chopped off.
Oh yeah, of course. Not the bloody thumb.
He's had his thumb. He's had his thumb chopped off. And then while Taylor's meant to be watching her, they say goodbye to the doctor. Jessica does. She goes upstairs, and then you'll never guess what. You know where Alice is now, Ben?
Where is she?
Pretty gone is where she is. Disappeared.
Vanished.
She's
She's only
been.
gone and vanished. Yeah, where's she gone? I dare you. And again, this is just like, is this too similar to Poltergeist? Is this too similar to Insidious? You know, where someone's vanished and they're in like a netherworld, or some sort of parallel universe that exists, and it feels like it's just a plot technique in this film to kind of just make us suddenly feel tension and oh my god, what's going to happen? We need to find her and stuff like that. But it kind of, for me, I felt like it was happening too early. I was like, oh, she's gone already. I see. I thought
She's
it was going to
gone.
be
There's
like a,
half out. It's half hour
yeah,
left. And like any sensible parent whose child disappears in a time when it's very important these things happen quickly. I mean, I couldn't possibly comment, Ben. I'm not a parent, but if you're if when your daughter had been much younger, she just disappeared after a strange incident with a psychologist, would you just have a walk around the street, see if you could see her by yourself?
yeah. Just see if I'll see what I can see. I'll see what I can see.
So
And no,
they have a little mill about. Taylor basically goes, well, fuck's sake, Jessica, this is your fault. And she goes, no, listen, actually, I
listening.
think it might be the bear because, of course, that's the revelation we had that the bear was never there. We didn't see him. The doctor didn't see him. Taylor didn't see the bear. Jessica had seen the bear, but she was also just imagining him because the bear, like the title of the film, is imaginary.
It's only gonna be
And
bloody imaginary. Yeah.
and then Taylor basically goes, well, fuck's sake, Jessica, you're a shit stepmom anyway. Tell you what, I'm gonna have a wander around the estate a bit more and see if I can find her. And then she meets Granny Exposition, who
Granny
basically does a job.
does a job. Yeah, there's a lot of exposition to be done. A big lot of exposition dumping to be done. And not only does she do a good exposition dump, she also says, "Come back to my crib, where I've got a lot of other things that will aid the exposition to show you.
Because
Books.
she's been writing books all the
I'm
time. She's
writing
a
books
published
about
author.
this.
She's written books about imaginary friends. Because actually, there's loads of cultures that have imaginary friends. Here's three examples. She literally does three because oh, here it's called this, here that, and here in America, we call them imaginary friends. Okay.
Yeah, it's just like only in America. Everyone else they call them something slightly more interesting. Yeah.
Um, and actually, what you may not have worked out is that when imaginary friends, which we're accepting are real, when they are forcefully removed from a kid, then they're fucking thirsty for imagination, Ben. They cannot get enough of it. They're jonesing for some imagination, and they
Absolutely
can react quite
jonesing.
violently.
Yeah.
So if they don't get any, then they're going to be furious about it, and they're going to be desperate to get another kid and slurp out their imagination and get them in a little they get their hit of imagination. And then when Jessica turns back up, she goes, "Oh, look, I'm so sorry, Taylor. Like, I don't expect you to believe me about imaginary friends." She goes, "Oh, I do actually. I met this old lady for the second time in my life. She explained it, and now actually I am 100% on board."
It is pretty much like that, isn't it? It is like I was kind of a bit skeptical, but then I've spoken to this woman who's a bit nuts, a little bit kooky, a little bit out there. Seems far more interested in our family than she should be. If anything, I'd be like, maybe you stole Alice. But no,
Can I just
it's
check your
imaginary friends,
cupboards?
is it? Can I just check your cupboards? Can I just check your credentials?
But yeah, they get her on board, and Jessica. Oh, that's right. While Taylor was having her exposition, Jessica had a revelation by going home and basically touching up all the paint she'd done as a kid, and it had all these other things. She notices bloody
This,
Chauncey was all over her drawings as well.
this is kind of insane because it's like, right, daughter's gone missing. Now, the act of painting over all of the paintings that were in her room is got to be something that's going to take a long time, hours, because she's doing it all
Absolutely.
in different colors as well. You'd think if you're in a rush, you might just go, I'm just going to limit myself to one color. but for some reason
just the first one that's open.
She commits to all the colors that, and if you can see them well enough to paint over them, surely you can see them well enough to essentially just read them and do what, you know what I mean? If this act is an insane act when there's essentially an emergency happening, right?
Yeah, but she does all the pictures, goes, right, that's it. Somehow between our powers combined, we basically know down in the basement there's a little blue door and we can get in there, but we're gonna have to do basically the Chauncey scavenger hunt list, because you need something that makes you happy, something that makes you sad, something you'll get a bollocking for, something that really hurts. And they get everything. There's like picture of the girl's original mom, which, you know, does a lot of emotions for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And she pisses Jessica right off. It makes Taylor sad. And they're all on board now. They're all as a team. And Jessica gives herself a stabbing in the hand with a pair of scissors, because that will be the action. But the door doesn't open. They need some emotional pain on Taylor's side as well. And Jessica delivers it in what was my favorite part of the line, where she basically, like, Taylor, who is blame culture, goes, oh, right, Jessica, so this doesn't even fucking work. You haven't been able to successfully open a portal to another dimension to save my sister. You're a useless stepmom. It's all your fault. And Jessica goes, I know, fuck you. Taylor, you were meant to be watching your kid, sister, but because you're such a selfish bastard, you were like off doing something selfish instead, weren't you? So actually, it's all your fault. So get to fuck.
Fuck.
So Taylor looks real sad, and then with that sadness, with that emotional pain, the magic blue door begins to glow and open, and Jessica's able to say, it's all right. I didn't like. We're all good. I just said that. I did mean it, like, 'cause obviously you've got to. I did mean it, because it is your fault, but I needed to hurt your feelings. It's not that I'm being abusive.
Yeah,
It was to save your sister.
We are flying through the review of this, but it does go at like a breakneck speed, but not necessarily in a good way. It is kind of like just one thing after another to kind of try and build the tension, but we're kind of all hoping we want to get into this other world as well. We want to get there,
Yeah.
and we are going to talk about the world in general, yes, and there are some interesting creature designs, but I also kind of just felt like that world was like either an escape room / a crazy golf, an indoor crazy golf.
Reminds me a bit of a quasar, slightly smoky,
a bit like a quasar,
bit like a quasar.
It's properly like it seems real low budget. I know they've got like the kind of the CGI thing when there's all the different perspectives and all different angles, a bit like that bit in Labyrinth where the staircases going all in all different directions.
Yeah. So it's a bit like it's like, by the way of all these other things, there is like a laser quest. It is like a Freddy Krueger sort of dreamscape scenario. It is the faraway place from Insidious, right? Sort of weird, non-Euclidean, like geometry kind of weird place. There's like clouds on the ceilings of the rooms with rain falling down and everything like that. A bit Hellraiser 2 Hell Corridors as well. Yeah. I don't dislike the design. It's all very blue. Imaginary friends like blue stuff.
Yeah, it's very blue. I know we get that a lot on the poster and a lot of the promotional stuff. But yeah.
The door starts closing, but thankfully they've got some invincible scissors that they just wedge in there, so they can get back out. The
invincible scissors, like all these items have kind of got power attributed to them, and I don't know how you felt about this, but what's Gloria doing ending up there? As soon as Gloria was there, I was like, she's either going to be she's going to get slurped off almost immediately, and it will become some kind of or she's going to turn on him in some way, and she's going to be in on it the whole time. And it kind of both.
What do you know, Ben? It's anybody both.
It's only bloody both, yeah.
So basically, Gloria has a moment. She basically goes, all these years telling people about imaginary friends and stuff, people all said that I was mad, but actually, I was rather
than traveling the world to try and get answers from imaginary friends thing, I stayed living on the same street the old time, hoping that it would all come back to me, and it has. I win.
Is it alleged that Chauncey's been filling her in? It's like, right, bloody do this, say that, make sure they get here.
It does
Feels
feel
like
like that,
she's
doesn't
been
it?
he's trying to get her in to the imaginary world, but no sooner has she betrayed them and whipped the scissors out of the door so they get trapped in there forever. She has a big
Yeah,
celebrate that she's won, and then absolutely slurped off immediately by a big giant bear hand.
yeah. And it's kind of like, oh well. I mean, again, that could have easily been saved for a little bit later. It really does feel like it's one of those films that goes, we're just gonna immediately dial down on things that we could save for a bit. When everyone's okay, we've saved anyone, then she could suddenly turn and fuck it up for everyone. That could easily work, but it just feels like it's incredibly rushed, doesn't it?
Yeah, and she gets like basically because this is a an entry to horror, we just get to see an arm slurp her off around the corridor of a door, and she gets dragged around a corner, and then like Resident Evil blood oozes from under the door frame, so we know that she's been
It
got.
is properly like that Resident Evil blood oozing from under
Like
the door frame. But luckily, yeah, that was good. That was good. But I can't remember what I was going to say now. That sound effect was so good. Luckily, everything is like blue tinge, so you can't even really see that the blood is red. So that's probably helped with the rating as well.
Yeah, looks like HP sauce coming under the door.
Yeah,
He spilt his bacon butty with all that. Jessica and Taylor briefly argue over who's going to be the main character to end this film.
yeah.
They both go,
Exactly.
"You go on ahead. I will be the one
Oh,
to save my sister from, or my daughter from Chauncey."
yeah. Chauncey Chancey. I'll be the one. No, I'll be the one. No, I'll be the one. I want to do it.
It will
I'm
be
gonna do it.
I will be the one,
And
and they
I'll be the new mum. I'll win as the new mum.
yeah. I not gonna lie, Ben. This is the point where I started to suspect, especially with some of my. I've been quite vocal about it. My feelings about how some of these films end. I'll be like, if you fucking kill off Jessica to go basically, the only way I can live with my trauma is to let you go on, but I will die in the imaginary world. I'd have been like,
That is
oh
pretty
no,
much
I
how we
can't
feel.
take any more of these.
I cannot do this anymore. I cannot have people breaking the habit of generational trauma by just dying. I'm going to sacrifice myself by dying. Oh, no.
Oh, what's that? I'm gonna have to give up my dream as a sportsman and learn to live a valuable life with a disability. Or I could just fuck myself off into the outdoor swimming pool and die in the ghost dimension. Do that. Oh, what's that? I could find a clever way to avoid passing on this generational trauma, even if I ultimately die. No, I'll just fall into the trap and absolutely do that.
I'll just
Yeah,
fall into the
I was
trap. That's all I
worried
need.
that we were going to. I was worried that we were going to get her losing her mind or doing something else in
So
the end, as there's no
the re
escape from trauma.
the realm is called Never Ever, but there's a bit in the past where like one of the characters says Never Ever, but it's not like uttered in a way where you'd go, that's a place. You'd
It's a place
go,
that never ever.
you'd think they were just saying never ever. I'm never gonna do that again. Never ever. They just say never ever, and they go, "That's a place. That is. Where's this place? Never ever. It's not Google Maps.
The
It's not
never
Google
ever. And
Maps."
before Gloria got slurped off as well, she was like, "You can have anything here, anything you want." The imagination of kids. You see a little dog walk past, because that's the kind of dog that Alice wanted. She's got that now. You can
Yeah.
have anything you want in the never ever. I thought that corridor that they're standing in, it's fuck all places to sit down in the never ever. No,
Nowhere to
rubbish.
sit down. Nowhere to sit
One of the
down. Nowhere
main
to
things I
sleep.
look for somewhere I want to move there forever, the
Nice.
never
Yeah.
ever, someone to have a sit is what I'd want to
Lovely
see.
big bed. Probably a toilet. I don't reckon it's got facilities. Do you reckon?
Yeah, you'd want all those things. Although in the never ever would you need the toilet? Who knows? But
Well, I feel like if I'm in a never ever and I'm doing all the things I like going to the toilet. So
sometimes it's a nice bit of peace and quiet, isn't it? You sit,
it's a lovely
take
bit of
yourself
peace and
off.
quiet. It's a lovely relief. Sometimes, can have a real weight off your shoulders
Yeah.
doing that.
So this is the world that they're in. They swiftly, or they briefly get separated, and Taylor goes into a music box room where a silhouette of Chauncey turns up, and they play the
Kevin McAllister's around here. He's trapped.
trapped in the imagination never ever dimension. Thankfully, Taylor doesn't get got, and then she just gets pulled back out of the room by Jessica, just to give us a little bit, and then we get to Alice being in the room, and it's just as they imagined. She's got everything that she could want. She's got cookies, she's got drawing books, she's got all the things she wants, and even her now completely stable mom is in this land of pure imagination. Um, Everyone's great, and they're all happy, and they're all together. And the mom comes up to say, "Oh, look, and now everyone you love is here. We'll have an absolute banging time."
An
And of course, they're
absolute.
trapped there.
They're trapped there forever.
Yeah,
And again, it's a bit obvious, like the little girl's version of this Never Ever, and it like I'm dressed as a princess. I'm in a fairly small bedroom filled with all the things I like, including my mum and presents, loads of presents. We don't know what's in them. It could be anything. Don't like a surprise. Um,
surely if you're a child, the thing that you want to do with presents is open them immediately, not just
yeah,
have them.
not just have them there. Don't know what it could be. Terrified. So that's pretty funny, isn't it?
Yeah. Is it at this point? It's at some point during the adventures in the Never Ever that Jessica realizes what the deal was with her dad, and she sees as if from as if reconstruction footage on an episode of like Interdimensional Imaginary Friend Crime Watch. She
Yeah,
sees the day that her dad saved
yeah.
her from the Never Ever when
It's like,
Chauncey
is it
almost took her there.
behind a painting or behind like there's like a rip in something and she sees it. Again, a little bit like Interstellar, where there's that bit where you can like
Looking
see
through the
yourself
bookcase.
as a kid looking for the bookcase. Oh, no! It's a bit like that where she sees it playing out in real time.
Yeah, she sees her dad when the time went wrong because he is, he's hurt her in the past because he's lost his grip on
Yeah,
reality and he's lost his sanity. And what happened is that when he was pulling Jessica back from the Never Ever, he copped a staring contest. He had a look square in the face of Chauncey, and I believe it's explained by one of the characters. It might be before Granny Exposition gets killed off, actually, that he slurped up all the imagination of infinite children which exist in the eyes and the glare of looking in Chauncey's face. And it makes his eyes go all milky. And much like in a friend of mine, Paul, once misheard the lyrics to Going Underground by the Jam, and he thought they were what I think best describes what happens to Jessica's dad here. Going underground, going underground, when your eyes go whippy and your mind goes round. And that's what happens to him. His eyes go whippy and his mind goes round, and he is absolutely fuck. He's Beswick forever. But he does it to save her from the Never Ever.
yeah.
Yeah, but
What a
his
great
eyes have
guy.
gone whippy and his mind has gone round. So she
Incredibly whippy.
realizes, yeah, she realizes that he's basically sacred. And again, there's no redemptive arc for him. There's nothing that you can do about it. He is, I want to be very clear, irreversibly mad forever.
Irreversibly mad forever. Yeah, you're never ever gonna recognize your daughter or anything like that. Yeah.
Because there's too much children's imagination in your mind.
Yeah, exactly. There's too much. And if you witness it, it'll just make your eyes go incredibly milky. Milky
Yeah,
white.
you get whippy eyes, your mind will go all round, and you'll be absolutely fucked up. But he did splash a bit of Old Spice about and seal the thing with a bit of fire.
Yeah, what is that? So it's like, what is that they use? Just like black.
Just
Why is
some
that all?
standard.
Why is that always to hand? Why is like the black, like weird burglar grease, whatever it is?
Yeah, in case
Why
you
is
need to
that?
start a fire in your own house.
Why is that always available?
Well, like all good American basements, absolutely chock us with paraffin. So they see that, which don't worry about it, everyone. It may come back later. But the only way they're going to they're sealed in the never dimension, Ben. No one else can fathom a way to escape. But using her creativity, because it's a blue door, Jessica thinks, tell you what, I'll just make my own. She starts ripping the pages out of books, getting all the blue Play-Doh, basically making her own blue portal in the room. And imaginary mom is like, oh, tell her, Alice, she's bloody spoiling it. She's been ever so naughty. But Jessica usurps Alice's mom, Alice's love for her original mom. Is like, no, Jessica, remember what I said in a throwaway bit of dialogue earlier? Sometimes you just got to destroy something to make something new. And she's ripping up all the paper and putting all the blue stuff together to make a portal, and they're able to escape.
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty um creative, I think, in terms of the way they're
Yeah, this
making
is
this
good.
portal. The little girl gets involved as well. She enjoys it.
Yeah, she's on board with doing it. And maybe it's less about the magic of having lots of blue things and more about the fact that the kid is separated from, just being caught up in the things that you can imagine. Her imagination might fuel the fact that there's a door here. Let's give it that. They all get out. Chauncey turns into a big giant Five Nights at Freddy's bear monster. Thankfully,
Mhm.
Jessica's still got the scissors,
Yeah.
stabs him in the face, and
Like, this is pretty cool, although I kind of had it ruined because I saw on Twitter this kind of reveal of the big scary monster bear, and it's pretty good. Like, as long as it's not CGI. I don't think the spider stuff is CGI either. I think that's kind of like some weird sort of like puppetry or something.
mixture of puppetry and like an actor.
Unstrung,
Yeah,
bloody
unstrung.
unstrung this puppet.
Simon the
Um,
Spider. Um, he comes back though, and he's coming at her, and she's able to wedge the door open with the scissors once again, and crawls through into an escape. Flash forward a little bit of time, and all of the families together, including Max, the dad. He's back from tour, and they're all off seeing Jessica's dad, also called Ben, in the hospital,
yeah,
and she's reading him the end of a story, a children's story, saying, and actually, Simon the Spider was nice all along, and he was
yeah.
just lonely, and he wanted to give Millie the Millipede a big old hug,
A
and
big old
everything's
lovely
great.
hug. Oh, it's a
And
lovely
everyone
happy ending. Almost too happy is what I'm thinking,
too
Andy. What about
happy.
you?
I mean, surely if this was because sorry everybody, spoilers, Jessica somehow realizes, fuck's sake, I'm still in an imaginary world. You couldn't imagine a world where your dad got better.
No. I could only imagine pain and suffering, and that's all that exists
Yeah.
within my
Couldn't have thought,
imaginary
oh, to
world.
be fair, now you've escaped from Chauncey and he's trapped back in that dimension forever. My sanity's returned, actually. Thanks for that. No, he's still bedridden forever,
Still
like
absolutely
Grandpa Joe.
bedridden with milky eyes.
Yeah.
He would leap up, um, he would leap up out of bed if the mere mention of a golden ticket was mentioned. He'd be fine. Just mention that.
Yeah, but she can't imagine that. So, but then she does realize, hang on, I'm still in bloody imagination world, and then everyone gets horrible Coraline teddy bear eyes, little button eyes in their faces.
Yeah, this is kind of weird as well. This is weird. This is kind of like I can imagine a film where this is creepy and like this is effective. Like just the look of these things are kind of weird, but I don't know. Like in the context of this film, it still feels a bit silly, hokey. Is that the right word? It just feels a bit, I don't know, like a bit like ha ha ha, rather than ooh. Whereas in a different context, I could easily see like if something like this popped up in another film, I probably would have been,
I
oh,
don't
this
think it
is
was
pretty cool.
fully developed. They feel the very when they turn around, it feels almost, and not to be disrespectful to the effects people, but I think it does look a little bit Instagram filtery, where the head and the body, the heads
Yeah.
exist as they are, but they've got kind of swollen prosthetics that look like there's a button eye within their head. I think what could have been cool would be if you'd sealed their eyes and put like a loose glass button on the outside. Maybe that might have been a little bit more like disturbing visually. I feel like you could have used a tiny bit more visual polish on that one, like another couple of runs at some different concepts of it.
Yeah. I don't know. It
Um,
again, even when we realize again, it doesn't even give us a chance to truly like work out what's happening. It just gets to a point where our character, who isn't granny exposition, but also does a fair amount of exposition as well, um, for her to say, hang on a minute, we're not even in the real world, are we? Oh shit. something like that.
Yeah,
I don't know why I did
it's
that
a bit.
voice.
That's what you'd say when you realise that you're not even in the real world. Then that's how you'd have to say it.
Hmm. Yeah,
Um,
100%.
yeah. So basically, Chauncey he's got her there because actually Chauncey gives zero fucks about Alice. What he wanted was to get Jessica back in there because he was her imaginary friend and is absolutely thirsty for her imagination.
Yeah,
When realizing that she's there, Taylor gets a shot at being the main character. She just comes in like
smack it.
punches
What she?
Chauncey at like
I think she
hits him with a hockey stick.
hits it with a hits the version of her, like hits the Weird Eyes version of her.
Yeah, with a hockey stick, bashes her.
Hmm. Yeah, that's right.
Uh, and then says, "Come on, we're off actually." And then they really do escape, and they're having to work as a team. Not Granny Exposition; she has been eaten in the Never Ever by a bear. So
She's been
they're
eaten.
they
See you
they're
later.
trying to close the door. You've got Jessica, Taylor, and Alice. They're all out there. They're trying to seal the magic portal, but
Yeah,
Chauncey, now a bit like Simon the Spider, but with sort of projector eyes with lots of the kids' imagination in there,
yeah.
is
So this is
trying to
like,
get out.
do we think this is the true form of what Chauncey actually is? Is that what we're thinking in this moment?
Well, it's hard to
Possibly
say because Simon is also a character that Simon the Spider is another character
within
that
the.
Jessica has created. Are we to believe that maybe she was inspired to his design
Yeah, that's what I was kind of
by
thinking.
seeing a Chauncey when she was a kid and just not remembering it?
Yeah, is that a bloody Chauncey you got there?
Yeah, is that
Uh,
Chauncey? But either way, he starts doing that, and then Jessica's eyes start going a bit whippy, and then
yeah.
Taylor, again, wicked at giving out advice or abuse, not very good at taking it. She's like, Jessica, no, don't look in his eyes. And then immediately looks in his eyes, and her eyes
Ah,
start going all whippy.
I kept thinking in this moment, what would I do? Because while I was like, don't look in his eyes, it looked like pretty interesting. I was thinking. I was like, I don't know what's
I was
going on
think
there, but it looks
I was
pretty good.
thinking that, but I've grown up in a time and been uncomfortable with people in my time. I don't think I look people in the eyes at the best of times, whether they've got tellies in them or not.
Just look slightly away. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. We've all been
just look
there.
slightly away. Like I don't think many people of our generation, Ben, would have a great deal of issue not looking anyone in the eyes. Chauncey'd be fucked.
That's true.
He'd be like,
Chauncey
"Oh,
can
have a
get.
look at my eyes, will you? To see all the I'm trying to make your eyes go whippy
Yeah, have a look.
with the collective imagination of all the children that are in the infinite world of the Never Ever." He's like, "Well, a buddy shan't, Chauncey. What I'll do is just push this door closed." But that
Yeah,
isn't what they do. They're built a little differently to us. So they do start going all whippy eyed and mind boggled. Thankfully, little Alice there has not paid heed to the
mm.
message of matches, never touch, because she just lights up that
Ah,
burglar grease
this is
like it's bloody
another.
bonfire night.
How often, right? We've already talked about the tropes of these films, but how often is the ending either one of kill yourself, it's not worth living, die, make a sacrifice, and everyone will be okay, or just burn it all
Burn the
to the
house down.
ground, burn the
Burn
bloody
the
house
house
down,
down.
let it
Um,
burn.
then she does, like Usher, suggests that they let it burn. Um, and they stand outside and watch it burn. A bit like Michael Myers in that house.
It's
Um,
very much like that, yeah.
um, and there you go. And we end with them looking for a hotel.
Yeah, and we get a little bit of a joke, don't we? Where like there's a little kid talking to a teddy bear. Obviously, that would obviously happen, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
Little kid talking to a teddy bear, and then he realizes, oh, it's just a little kid talking to a teddy bear, but it's put us all on edge. So,
let's go to another hotel, one
let's
with
go
no
to another
kids.
hotel, and we get a little bit of a laugh. But
And
still,
then,
yeah.
do you think that's another? Is that another Chauncey?
Uh, I mean, it would be pretty mad. Are we supposed to think that Chauncey can like jump from one thing to the next?
Or
Like,
all imaginary friends just good at being little invisible bears? And that could be
yeah, I don't
Michael,
know. Michael.
the also, but
Not bloody
something else
Michael.
that would be something else that sounds a bit like, but not exactly like Pokemon. That is Bulbasaur, another imaginary bear.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be unfortunate. And then it ends, and
And then we go, and Max doesn't come back from tour by the film, and he's still gallivanting
again,
about.
I guarantee you,
Playing the
the
O2
actor,
tonight, it's big.
that actor is got other, you know, he's got other things to do. Guarantee you.
I know they don't film them chronologically, but he is in the bit with funny bear eyes earlier, a few minutes ago.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they did that at the end. They were just like, right, I did that first. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, well, you've got one FX scene, so we'll do that bit,
Yeah.
and otherwise we'll just be in this bedroom at the beginning, do a high five, go on tour.
Do a high five, go on tour. Yeah, I didn't like that high five. And that's it. That's the end. That's imaginary. And you know what? I guess it was a bit predictable, wasn't it? In terms of, I know we're gonna rate it, but a bit predictable. It did nothing that I thought it wasn't gonna do. And just very like uh neutered. Is that the correct word to use? I think very neutered in
Yeah,
terms of like
a
what
little
it could
bit,
have been.
a little bit neutered. I don't think anyone does a bad job at it. DeWanda Wise, I think, is a perfectly good, credible horror lead. She does
Oh yeah.
lots of emoting, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
she doesn't necessarily have the content to do
Film's not good, the script's not good.
very
I
much
mean,
with. Like, you
even
know,
as a, I think even as an idea, it's not like fleshed out, flushed. It's not fleshed out enough to like really be great, is it?
yeah, what I think I would have liked out of this might have been give me some, especially because it is imaginary friends and all of these things. I know these things cost money, and this is made for. And again, I think what might have ruined me forever, Ben. This isn't similar to Godzilla minus one money that we're seeing this sort of been made for, and I'm like, bloody hell, could have got that
Bloody
much
hell.
of a film out of it. Like, give me some, give me some more stakes. Don't just let me say, oh, actually, loads of kids have disappeared in the past and we've never quite worked this
Yeah,
out.
the stakes are
Let
pretty
me
low, aren't
see
they?
some of the kids that disappear to the imaginary friends. Let me see,
Mm.
some Freddy Krueger-esque sort of dreamscape manipulation where when you're in the never ever, what these imaginary friends can do, and let's explore what they can and can't do in the real world as well by toying with perceptions of people. Put like like Oculus style. Show me some illusions that they could have tricked people into. If what they can do is manipulate imagination, give me loads of people getting injured or hurt. Like get the dad out of the way, not by going on tour, but get him hospitalized or something like that early on.
Yeah.
Like, oh, he sort
Yeah,
of
maybe we don't know
was
what truly happened. It was just
yeah,
like, oh,
like get a point where maybe he cracked down and said, no, it's not good for you to have an imaginary friend. This isn't real. And then
mm.
Chauncey imaginary friends a skateboard on the top of the stairs and he breaks his leg and he's in hospital. You know what I mean? It could be anything. Or he is a rock star. I've already put drug use on one character ineffectively. Let me put it on another one as well. Like he could be recovering from substance abuse, and Chauncey could take those mollies from the thing, and they could sneak it into his breakfast and cause him to have a relapse, so he has to go to rehab or something. Give me a
Yeah,
more
it's like,
irreversible reason rather than actually my family's in a lot of peril. I'm probably just going to come back.
yeah, I know what
Like
you mean.
we could have done a bit more, I think, with that creatively, and not just give me a $200 million budget. I think you could have still been reflective with your budget and made this film an entry point into horror for people. I don't think that was my problem with it, but I
Yeah.
think you could have conceptually done a little bit more with this idea to really lean into what the imaginary friends are, rather than, I think you said it, Ben, you're in a breakneck race to get them to the never ever at the end, and as soon as you're there, fucking can't wait to get back out again.
Yeah, that's pretty much like it in there, yeah. Okay, so any name game for this one?
I can do a few if you like. What these are all off the top of the
Uh,
dome, Ben. I've not written this down, but what's the
yeah,
synopsis?
I got one off the top of the dome. So, a woman returns to her childhood home to discover that the imaginary friend she left behind is very real and unhappy that she abandoned him.
Yeah.
So here's one for you. So, a woman returns to her childhood home to discover that the DVD of her favorite film the Lord of the Rings trilogy, her favorite films, the Lord of the Rings trilogy. She's watching it, and there's only three hobbits involved in this film. One of them, they're all talking to the one that's missing, but seems to be imaginary.
It, imagine Mary.
Imagine Mary, correct. Free
Imaginary.
breakfasts. Or whatever, every
So
breakfast she has.
in this film, a woman goes back to her childhood home, and it's actually exactly this film, but it's the more violent, spookier cut of it that may or may not actually exist.
Imagine gory.
Not quite, it gives you a proper fright because it's very visceral.
Imagine scary.
Imagine scary. That's right.
Imagine scary. That's very good. I like it. Okay. A woman returns to her childhood home to discover that actually she returns to her childhood neighborhood to discover that the ice cream parlor where she used to go and get her favorite flavor of ice cream every weekend is still there. However, her favorite flavor doesn't exist anymore. They've stopped stocking it. So she buys something very similar and eats it and just pretends that it's her favorite flavor.
So does she imagine cherry?
She imagines cherry. I don't know if cherry's really like a flavor
Or
of ice cream.
if the ice cream parlor was turned out to be fictional, she'd be imagining dairy.
She'd be imagining dairy. Yeah, exactly.
Imagine dairy. So in this one, a woman who goes back to to her childhood home actually uncovers an amazing secret. Ben, you won't believe it. It's not that Chauncey Bear turns out was real all along and was pissed off that she abandoned him. She finds in the basement not a scavenger hunt list. She finds some original manuscripts written by John Lennon himself. And it turns out one of his famous sort of protest songs and anthems for a more peaceful society was actually written directly in the original version to the adversary of Tom the Cat.
Jesus. I thought I was on board with you then, but I got completely lost.
Yeah, it's a
Oh
Shaggy
wait,
Dog story.
Imagine Jerry.
Imagine Jerry. That's what he's saying.
God. I got a little bit
The rest of
confused.
the words are exactly the same, but every
When you
time he says
said
imagine Jerry of all the people.
Jerry, you stitched me right up, you absolute bastard.
Yeah. That was actually the influence of Yoko Ono. She goes, I'll just cut that Jerry bit out of it and it'll be a better song.
Yeah. Okay. In A woman returns to her childhood home to star in one of the Poonaverse movies. Peter Pan. Peter Pan's gone apeshit, whatever it was called. However, they've run out of budget, and Tinkerbell. They've got no room left in the CGI budget to put Tinkerbell on the screen. So they've advised viewers of the film, to
Imagine Fairy.
just imagine the fairy on the screen. Who knows? I hope they don't do an evil Tinkerbell. Are they going to do that?
I think she is part of the Poonaverse, Ben.
There we go. It's obvious, isn't it? Any more?
Yeah. Yeah. I can do one more for you.
Thank you.
Basically, because of recession and having to tighten everyone's belts a little bit, a woman has to cancel her city break to Northern Ireland and then just has to sit down and think about what it would have been like if she'd got to go on this trip.
Imagine Derry?
Imagine Derry.
Imagine Derry. And also, the trip over didn't get to happen. She had to imagine that as well.
Of course, she wasn't going to fly, was she? Less sustainable. She has to imagine the ferry. Imagine ferry.
Two bloody layers.
The reason I didn't write these down, I thought I'm not going to have very many rhymes for imaginary, but we've done all right,
We sure did. There we go. So now we got to rate the movie. A to F, pluses and minuses are allowed. Where are you going to sit on this one? It's a difficult one, Nip. It's a difficult one.
It's tricky, isn't it? We've had a silly time giving this a bit of a, going through this and going through it as well. I think until you get to the end, there is quite a lot of what feels a little bit formulaic, which, you know, is my bigger problem, more so than the fact that it's a PG-13 doesn't bother me. There are plenty of PG-13s that I find are really enjoyable, really
Mhm.
quite frightening. I think it is just the formulaic approach to this one, and
Yeah.
a little bit of an uneven pacing as well. And for something which could literally be anything, it isn't as much as I would have liked to have seen it. So that being said in mind, I think I will place this at a D, a standard D, because
Yeah.
I think it falls into that zone for me that mm, we watch good horror movies, we watch bad horror movies. I have seen films that are objectively bad
Mm.
that I would watch again before I watch this again, because I just didn't have that much to latch on to here. There's
Yeah.
some good filmmaking involved. Like, I think there's definitely some skill. It's perfectly credibly made. There's some good cinematography. There's some good performances in
Yeah.
there,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it suffers from just being a little bit bland in a time where I want something more exciting from my horror cinema. And again, probably exacerbated by the fact that we just saw a lot of experimental stuff last week.
But not just that. Like, I think if you've watched all of these films from Blumhouse, or even like the early ones, or the ones that have been coming out in recent years, like we've seen a lot of these tropes play out over and over again. So it's really difficult to try and latch on to something that's new, but perhaps doesn't bring anything new to the table. And that is frustrating because I want to see unique, refreshing, shocking, mysterious, interesting films play out in front of my eyes. I don't necessarily want to see, when you're kind of just predicting it in your head and it plays out exactly like that.
Yeah,
Like that is genuinely quite disappointing.
it's such a thing, and you've finally been. It only took me another hour. Remembered the other example what I just found perfectly credibly and perfectly skillfully made, but just didn't hit any chords. I mean, that was Boogeyman this year as well. Like, Rob Savage
Yeah,
is a
of
great
course.
director, but the film, that
Yeah,
came out as a piece of entertainment from the studio, it just
yeah,
it didn't spark joy. And if Marie Kondo's taught us anything, that if things don't spark joy, Ben, what are you wasting your time in them for?
yeah, exactly. That's true. There we
Yeah,
go then. Well, oh, me. I might even go for a D minus, because I'm literally at the point where I've struggling to find anything positive to say about it, and also just like just a bit tired of this
yeah,
Night Swim, The Boogeyman. I guess even Five Nights at Freddy's, even though conceptually it's completely different, but like the way it's executed is probably a similar level of like being neutered, if that's and I'm perfectly
yeah,
fine with entry level horror, 12A, PG-13 horrors. I'm fine with that, but I feel like it hits a lot of the same beats, makes a lot of the same decisions. A lot of the scares are kind of the same, despite the fact that there's a couple of moments of like creature design that are kind of cool. Probably not enough. It needed to be a little bit more mean spirited, I think, and not like in a violent way or anything like that, but just to have some. I needed something a little bit extra to add to that. So for me, it's gonna have to be a D minus.
yeah. Okay, I think that's perfectly fair. We're rating these things on how much we enjoyed them, I think, rather than
Hmm.
the craft. The worst film in the world that you see. You did House of the Dead a few weeks back.
Yeah,
People worked hard and tried on that, and it's when we don't like a film so much, it's not like we're saying, "Oh, fucking hell, why did you turn up to work today?" People have worked really hard on this. There's some really credible filmmaking. This definitely more so, I'm happy to say, than those House of the Dead movies. There's some good,
yeah,
skillful filmmaking there, but I think there's this will sound very wanky, but there's too much product and not enough heart in this for me.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I
or at
think
least that I could gather from it. I think we just wanted a little bit more edge out of that story, a little bit more mystery in some places, a little bit more development in others. And it's about the complexity of those characters. I think you can do step parents that aren't, literally cardboard cutout step parents. You can do the issues that a teenager and a child of divorce and like mental health problems that the parent could have been having that weren't those ones. One kid's a bit lonely, has got an imaginary friend. The other one's a bit of a tearaway and is a bit of a nuisance with the stepmom. Like, you can add more depth and more flavor to those things that actually make them more
It
enjoyable.
was very flavorless, wasn't it? It was a very bland,
Yeah.
gruel like flavor. So
Yeah.
horrible.
And you know what? Sometimes if you can't be asked to make some dinner, Ben, you could just eat 5 slices of bread and be full, but you'll get that same sort of hollowness. You're still not,
Yeah.
you don't need food anymore, but you've not been satisfied.
What'd you have for dinner? I had five slices of Warburton's toasty, which is lovely, but apart from that, not great.
Yeah.
Okay. So there we go. That is imaginary. I think if you're thinking about watching this, maybe wait until it's on streaming or elsewhere to check it out. Worth watching if any of the films that we've slated you've enjoyed. Because different strokes. What am I trying to say? What's the different
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 different strokes for different, I think,
folks?
depending how rude you're feeling, you could either say folks or blokes, but different strokes and all that.
I'm
But
not feeling rude at all, so I'll say folks. Okay,
I tell
so
you what though,
go on.
I'm absolutely delighted if I was to hear from someone. Actually, I thought this was great. This is, or like I went to see this with my 12A-year-old, and
My
they're
12
thrilled.
year old.
They're really into horror movies. Now this is a good entry point. What shall I watch with them? What shall I watch with them next? I would love to see that, because like, just because I didn't get on with something, it doesn't mean that I don't want anyone to enjoy
Mm,
it. But if you're listening to this and your tastes tend to align with what we think, I think what Ben has said is perfectly fair, that you could wait for this on streaming.
yeah, 100%. Okay, there we go then. That's imaginary. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed the show, become a patron over at patreon.com/horror hangout. Thanks to all of our current patrons. Thanks to Taj Easton for our theme music. Thanks to Acast for hosting the show. Please consider giving us a rating or review. Head over to the Facebook group, Horror Hangout Board of Advisors. We're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, and Discord. And next week, we're covering another teen slasher. It is Urban Legend with special guest Danny Thompson.
I cannot wait for Urban Legend. It's been many years since I've watched it. A lot
That's
of fun.
it. I did rewatch it fairly recently, but I'm gonna watch it, and if I get time, I'm gonna watch some of the sequels as well.
Oh, maybe I'll see how many I can do. Got a whole week.
I think there's only three films, so not just two sequels.
Yeah.
I think maybe four. I
So
don't know. There
let's
we
see how
go.
many we can get through. What a time.
Thanks for listening, everybody, and until next time. And thanks, Andy, for being a right horror dude.
Thanks to you, Ben, for being a right horror dude as well. Just don't get sucked into doing a big old scavenger hunt for Chauncey, eh?
And if anyone turns up outside your house, dropping exposition like it's hot, get
Don't
up out of
invite them
there.
into the ghost dimension
Get
with
up
you.
out of there. See you later.
Oh, Ben,
Okay.
quickly before you go, worst
Yeah.
person to befriend your child. Who would you be more mugged off by if your daughter made friends with Chauncey or Toby?
Oh God, all pretty horrible. Both mugged off. I think you say Boy Brahms then. He's also
Or
probably
Brahms, if she gets a Brahms? What
probably
would you be more
Brahms.
pissed off about? What would you put your
Brahms.
foot down on quicker?
Brahms, because really he's a grown man in the walls.
Not the
Spoiler alert.
second time. He's just a scabby baby then.
Both's pretty bad to be fair. So yeah. Any and all. How about you?
All of them cancelled. I don't know. I feel like Toby might be the worst. He's the biggest. I
Yeah, I
feel
think
he's
you're
the
right.
biggest pain in the ass. I think Toby has the power in his films. He's like, oh, I just win all the time. Oh, fair enough, mate.
I just win every time, yeah. What a
Yeah.
bastard. Well, there we
But yeah,
go.
all wrong uns. Don't let your kids associate with any of everyone. But for now, if you can avoid that for the next week, we will see
Mm.
you next
See
time.
you when we see you. All the best now.
Bye.